Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
For the upcoming right-hander, brake 30 meters later and ease off the pressure.
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Alla, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.
Yes, I am. And you sound wonderful as always, James. I'm looking forward to this race, to be honest. An hour's worth of racing at Barcelona in GT machinery as well. I feel like this is a circuit that goes really well with this kind of racing, and so this could be a really good 60 minutes worth of racing and an important race in the championship when we consider that we've only got 3 more rounds after this. Well, if people can hear me, while Rob is sorting that out, sorry, not Rob, James sorting that out. Thanks to Rob for mentioning it. Yeah, this should be a really exciting racing prospect. I think we're looking at a lot of different teams knowing this track quite well. It's a circuit that is used in a lot of different machinery, and it isn't the most complicated in terms of geometry and geography, really, when we think about it. A lot of where we'll go through the left-hand side tyres, drivers will have to be very wary of that, but again, not a 90-minute race, so I don't think we're going to be too worried about the tyres in the same way that we would then, but still, definitely I think a race that will challenge the drivers, but at the same time, a little bit of a change from the fact that we were at Le Mans 2 weeks ago, and it's got quite a bit shorter in terms of lap time from Le Mans to Barcelona, and I think we are all a bit Le Mans out after the last 24 hours, James.
I would imagine so. Well, I'm hoping that's better, and I'm hoping that our good friend Mr. Mackay can confirm that audio is back on. I don't know why OBS does this. It seems that every time that we launch a new session, I have to go and reset my microphone source. So it's now registering as, it looks like it's registering as normal. So Rob, if you could just give us a shout and let us know in the chat if, first of all, if the audio is coming through, and also if you could let us know if the audio levels are correct. As always, we like to try and get it right, and we're open to feedback. So yeah, thank you for that, Rob. All now confirmed. So back to where we were originally. A very warm welcome to this European GT Championship Round 7 from Catalonia. I have been through this once, but unfortunately there was only Dara listening to me, so we will just kind of go through it again. 6 rounds out of 10 complete, 4 to go, including tonight, and really looking forward to this one. This should be a bit of a walk in the park compared to 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I did say that Chaz was supposed to be covering me tonight, but my plans have changed. So I'm back in the booth with Dara, and really looking forward to this one. One of the things to mention before we get started as well is that we have a slightly smaller turnout tonight. I think we've got a few less GT3s on track with us. So, and I think some of that may be to do with the fact that today is Father's Day in the UK. So a very happy Father's Day to all the fathers that may be watching, and all the sons. Make sure that you remind you and tell your fathers that and daughters that it's happy Father's Day today. So hopefully that will explain a little bit about why we might be on a slightly smaller grid tonight. But without further ado, we best get into things. So yeah, round 7, 6 gone, 4 to go. So tonight, 60-minute race. I think the one thing that we've got to think about tonight, Dara, is the new GT3 tyre model that iRacing have implemented as part of the last build. So, I mean, I've done a few test sessions with a few of my teammates trying to decide what car we're running for next season's GT3. And yeah, these tyres absolutely take a lot of warming up. So I think that's going to be really interesting tonight in terms of how that plays out and what effect it's going to have on the GT3 field.
Yeah, I certainly think it will, and we've seen it in the last 12 months, really. I think there was, of course, the prototype update that iRacing implemented that really changed around how teams and drivers could, work with the tyre, particularly around the pit stop phase. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if it's going to change around the order. I don't think it will necessarily, but the tyre model will take a little bit of getting used to, and we could see a bit of a shake-up in that order. Drivers maybe not feeling as comfortable inside their own cars as they have been all season long, and it's almost just another piece of the puzzle to add in that drivers I don't think really would want it to have to deal with.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen of it, I quite like it. You've got to really sort of bring the tyres in, and you can definitely feel the car is really loose underneath you until you've got the tyres warmed up. I think when you're in quali and when you're in practice, I think it's absolutely amazing. What I've not done is I've not done a race, so it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys go on the first lap of the race in the GT3s. I did make a joke in the Discord earlier that we might be seeing a GT4 in the overall lead at the end of lap 1 if the pressure is a lot for these GT3 drivers, but we shall have to wait and see. We shall have to wait and see how it develops. So tonight, 60-minute race, and then in 2 weeks' time, we've got the last of our 90-minute races at Portimao. So that'll be a very, very interesting one to see how the drivers fare on that kind of undulating up and down circuit. Penultimate round then at Spa-Francorchamps for the 60-minute race, followed by the final round on the 27th of July at Silverstone. So this track tonight, Dara, Barcelona, it's the classic layout, so we don't have that awful tight chicane at the end. What are your thoughts on the track tonight, and how do you think the drivers are going to approach this?
I think this is going to be a circuit that they know a little bit better than some of the others. I think that's fair to say. It's a track that has seen a lot of evolution over the course of the last few decades, really. But now, as of about 2023, we now have this updated layout, which is almost what it was a couple of decades ago. So we've kind of tried a couple of things at this circuit and then thought, yeah, no, they're not great, and reverted back to what was the original circuit, the Barcelona Catalan. You look at turn 10 on that track map, that long left-hander, it used to be a little bit more staccato. You can see it actually on the image on the right-hand side of all of your screens. That is the original, the hairpin that is the older layout that is very much firmly in iRacing that we won't be using. And it means that it may be a little bit more difficult to make an overtake on the brakes down there. But with there being longer corners and less heavier braking zones, it means that drivers will stay a bit closer around 12, 13, and then down the main straight towards turn 1 and 2. So this is a circuit I think that is now inviting a little bit more overtaking than it was a few years ago. And for GTs, I think it's always been a pretty good circuit.
Yeah, I think the racing's going to be great around here tonight. Especially, it's really interesting because I'm looking now and we've got a really, really packed GT4 field and a smaller GT3 field. So that's going to be interesting to see. I think personally, I think this is a track that's really going to lend itself to close racing on the GT4s. So, and of course, then we've got the lap car situation to work our way through. But we'll come all to that later. So now it's our favourite time of the fortnight. So we've sent Rob Mackay over to do a hot lap. I know that Rob's joining us in the stream, so big thank you to Rob. This was actually a DXT team event, Dara, that they went on. We were talking a bit about it earlier. So, but they didn't invite all team members, which I find a little bit it's a bit uncomfortable, really, having to talk about it when some of the team members might see it. So yeah, Rob actually stole Alex Boniface's R8. So and Alex didn't get invited. So I feel a bit sorry for Alex, really. But anyway, without further ado, I'll let you talk us through the lap, and then we can make some comments at the end of it. So let's see how Rob got on in this stolen R8.
Yeah, and he's got to be careful. There's quite a lot of traffic and quite a few of his teammates around on the circuit to try and almost contend with, but we're running towards turn number 1. There's a couple of drivers testing their GT3 Season 9 cars. In fact, is that? I believe it is, just on the outside line there. Yeah, indeed, that is going to be Matt Hoyland testing his new car, but he's been negotiated his way through turns 2 and 3. Then we'll see a lot of right-hand well, right hand down, but a lot of trying confidence on that throttle. Difficult to really know exactly when to pin it as you get in towards turn 3, and then you have to run the car through. Into turn 4 we go, a bit of a similar story, just slower speed as you run your car as close to the apex at the start of the corner as you dare, and then run it out as wide as you dare on the outside line. Difficult to judge the throttle once again. Turn 5, downhill braking, slightly more difficult to not snatch an inside front, a front left as you run your way down the hill, and then you rise through 7 and 8. Almost the complete opposite to turn 5 is you have to try and run it up through the corner and use the camber to your advantage. Be careful, it's easy to go wide through turn 8, dip a tyre into the gravel and really ruin a lap and ruin your chances of making a move. Turn 9 is where we see Andrew Fellows having a bit of difficulty as he runs through. He's got the 967 on his car, not too sure why, but he will be dispatched on the way down in towards turn number 10. And again, much wider than it was a few years ago. You can make a move down here, but it means that we're going to see drivers being able to stick closer together on the exit as you run through this final sector. Again, long corners. It's the MO of this circuit, continuing to the right, and then again, two 90-degree right-handers to end the lap. The first one slightly slower than the second, but again, use all the track that you dare, use as much throttle as you dare through these corners. You can be gaining hundreds, maybe even thousands through a little bit more confidence. And that can be the difference between pole position and maybe even 4th and 5th. It's not the longest lap that we'll go to around this season, but it is one that will demand quite a lot from the drivers, and time management is going to be very key.
Yes, it was a good lap there from Rob to say that he'd just kind of stolen, cough cough, that car from Alex. So quite a nice clean lap from Rob, unlike his windscreen that is quite possibly the dirtiest windscreen that I think I've ever seen. So, yeah, I do hope that you cleaned that, Rob, before you took it back to Alex. And if Alex didn't know, then he will now. So, anyway, that's the favourite bit of the fortnight out of the way. Now we come to the serious stuff, Dara. So, we're at round 6 completed tonight, round 7. GT3 driver standings, and things are definitely hotting up.
They are, and it's getting quite exciting at the top, I think mainly because of the particular rise of Yannis Hulbert. You can see it in, well, I was going to say black and white, but it's really gold and white, isn't it? With the 4 wins in a row from the German, who wasn't here for the first couple of rounds, but turned up and has since delivered result after result. Anton Kaler is just trying to keep himself as far in front as he can, but that gap now down to 49 points, and definitely in range to maybe swap around by the time we get out of Spain and head over across the Iberian Peninsula to Portugal in a couple of weeks' time. Will Soper, again, consistency getting him in, still keeping him in the top 3 in the championship, a 3rd, 4th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all of his results this season. None of the headline wins or even second places, but nothing to worry about for the Axis Conehead driver. He's very consistent in 3rd. Johnny Terhar, a little bit up and down for him, sees him in 4th, but he's comfortably ahead of Matt Hoyland, who of course got onto the podium 2 weeks ago. Up and down is also the name of the game for Rima Shalinskas so far this season, a P3 and a P4, but he's currently DNF'd, finished, DNF'd, finished, DNF'd, finished. So I don't necessarily rate his chances to finish here tonight. Ben Bennyworth, again, consistency from him keeps him just ahead of Kalle Leskinen as they're tied on points. Jayden Scotland and Joe Glass round out to the top 10, but still with some, hunger for those drivers to try and get themselves towards maybe the top 6, 7. Joe Sparrow on the outside looking in terms of getting that trophy for a top 10 finish. And the same can be said for Jason Baxter. Internet issues really affected him when he has turned up, but when he's been able to finish the race, he's performed really strongly. And it's going to be exciting to see what he can do if he is able to turn up for the rest of the season and his internet allows him to race.
Well, I think actually, Dara, Jason's actually withdrew from the series, to be honest.
Well, there we go.
I don't think we are going to be seeing Jason again. Maybe that message didn't come through. So if that's on me, that's apologies for that. But yeah, it's certainly hotting up in this GT3 Drivers' Championship, and it was interesting speaking to Anton Kalo last time that his main focus is on securing this title, and he's got that lead to Yannis. Even if Yannis wins every race and Anton finishes 2nd, then he's hoping to secure that. So that is going to be really interesting to see how that actually plays out for tonight and the following 3 rounds. So moving on to the GT4 drivers' standings, we have not a surprise for me, but we have a surprise leader in the championship of Pedro Luís da Silva, the Portuguese driver for Flatline Racing. So a fantastic run out at Le Mans with his win last time out. So he sits on 240 points. We've got Marius Hibmer on 224 points, and then William Humphrey in 3rd place on 220 points. So William is 20 points behind Pedro, in the Drivers' Championship. William with that disconnection last time out, which was absolutely gutting for him. So William is here tonight. He's currently running second in the open practice, third, in the open practice, behind a couple of drivers. So just struggling to get that hooked up at the moment, but we all know what William's capable of. So it's going to be great to see tonight how he copes and how the others cope with him, who presumably is going to be on a bit of a rampage, trying to make his title claim even stronger and claw back some of that deficit. We've then got Stephen Donnelly in 4th place for JSD Racing in his Mercedes on 204 points, closely followed by Martin Kenyon for DXT Motorsports on 197 points. So bit of a battle between Martin and Stephen there, and that follows through to the Teams Championship. So again, be good to see how they go tonight. We've got Tristan Engelstadt in 6th. So Tristan seems to have either fantastic luck or no luck at all. So I know that Gianni will be pushing Tristan to get a good performance in tonight. Just having a quick look. Yes, he is with us tonight. Fantastic. So again, he's going to be another one pushing in that GT4 race tonight. Bobby Moss in 7th. Yannis Albert's teammate for Minecraft Racing with 170 points. Ryan Stringer in 8th. Fantastic result last time out for Ryan with that P2 at Le Mans. And then we got Nils Kula for Axis Sim Sport, and rounding out the top 10 is Linus Petkovicius for SRB Motorsport by Link Vega. The last of the trophy awarded positions. So I imagine that Evan Main and Justin Eloff will be pushing on to try and get inside that top 10 to secure their driver's personalised trophy. Pro Teams Championship standings, Dara. Do you want to talk us through that one?
Absolutely, and it's getting pretty close at the top now, or it has been pretty close at the top. Switched around of late with Yannis Albert and Bobby Moss now leading the way. They weren't here for 2 rounds of the season, and yet find themselves leading the championship after 6 rounds. Quad Dash with Gianni Tejar and Tristan Engelstadt are trying to keep close to them, but we've seen the march of both Albert and Bobby Moss be really difficult to keep keep track with, and they will look to try and extend and get themselves over that 500 point mark by the end of tonight. Flatline Racing Green in the form of Jason Scott and Maris Hidmer, pretty distant in P3, 68 points back from the Quad Dash duo. Glass Tech and Axis Conehead currently 4th and 5th. They're in those but trophy-winning positions at the moment. And I think we've talked to Will Soper and to William Humphrey on separate occasions, and they both talked about how important that team's championship is to them. So we'll have to see if they can hold on to those top 5 spots. MK Simsport are in the top 6 with GT3 Championship leader Anton Kalo as part of the team. Thomas Noakes is joining him. We'll see if they can claw their way into a possible trophy-winning position tonight. Flatline Racing Red, Angie Fellows and Petra Luis de Silva still hanging around, still keeping themselves relevant in P7, and they lead a little bit of a gaggle ahead of SRB Motorsport, the Quad Dash LGR team, and the Rage Against the Game Esports Ruby outfit with Evan Main flying the flag for them. We'll have to see who can keep up in terms of the very, very fast pace in terms of points collection that we are seeing in this championship. A little bit further back and out of the monetary prize winning positions, Axis SA with Joshua Cohn and Justin Aloff some 78 points back, and then we see HSR Motorsport, LS Racing and the Random Racers who have really struggled to pick up points in the season so far. But clearly we've got a championship battle on our hands. It's just a case of whether the Minecraft Racing team are going to keep up this really relentless pace and form.
They certainly are the team to beat. They certainly are. In the Pro-Ams Team Championship, so this is a combined I rating of less than 4,000 approximately. We've got Matt Hoyland and Martin Kenyon for DXT Motorsports, currently sat in that lead position on 369 points. So they're just taking a little bit of a lead with this one, Dara, now. I think they're just starting to stake their claim a little bit on this Pro-Am Teams Championship. Obviously, Matt's doing very, very well in the GT3 race, and Martin is performing fantastically with consistent performances week after week, and it's starting to show. So they've just eked out that 72 point lead on JSD Racing of Joe Sparrow and Stephen Donnelly. Now I'm not seeing Joe Sparrow in the grid tonight, so that's a shame. It looks like Joe might not be with us. Stephen Donnelly I think is with us as I look down the timing tower. We'll have a little bit look on, but it'd be a shame if they're not, because it would be good to keep the pressure on the runaway leaders. In third place, we've got Axis Sim Sports team of Andre Muntian and Neil Schooler on 190 points. Fourth place, Vulcan Fasteners by Glass Tech Racing's Matthew Jones and Nick Stubb. And then the last of the trophy winning positions for the teams, we've got Quatermass Motorsport Bravo of Ben Bennyworth and Ian Chambers. Now, I am going to have to try and get that right all night tonight. Quatermass, as we had the lesson from the gentleman that is Andy Chell last time out. So 6th place, we've got Flatline Racing Pinks, Kalle Leskinen and Daniel Poole. In 7th place, we've got Rage Against the Game Esports Diamond of Clyde Veyer and Malcolm Coates on 129 points. In 8th place, we've got LS Racing 002, Adam Baker and Callum Morrow. 9th place, Mission R, Ryan Blackie and Dan Cross. Dan is here tonight. I've seen Dan on the timing sheet, so that's good. Hopefully they can get up the field a little bit more. And then rounding out the top 10, we've got the Moonshiners Racing Club of Dean Sheesby and Rob Gregg. Dean is with us again tonight, so again, be good to see how Dean gets on. I know he doesn't like that Porsche. I don't know, he might like it a bit more after we've got this tyre update. In P11, Quatermass Motorsport for Andy Chell and Simon Hunt. We got Louis Plath and Pete Paeva, LS Racing 001 in 12th. We've got the Kamei GPT Porsche team, GP2 Porsche team of Jim Fox and John Ludbrook. Jim is being reserved tonight by Robin Noel Brown. Suma GP2's Robin Aston and Scott Kostrick. And then Flatline Racing's Dean Sargent and Jason Haddington rounding out that Pro-Am teams championship. So all getting tight after P2 down. Be good to see how they get on tonight. Before we get into the quali action, just a big shout out and a thank you to our series sponsors, league sponsors and league affiliates. So we've got Trophy AI, VRS, Kamei for the personalised driver trophies, GP2 Group, and last but no means least, Motorsport UK's esports division, recognised ESR as a recommended community, which we are very grateful and very proud of. So just finishing out the formalities. Before we get into it, we do have the live timing server running, provided by SDK Gaming. So in the chat, you can see the link, or in the YouTube description below. If anybody wants to follow the driver's progress live, or if anybody's engineering for their teammates, you can click that link and you can customize what you see on your screen, which is exactly what we see as we jump in to the session, Dara, and I'll do the timing tower and we'll try to get something up on the board, and I'll let you talk us through what looks to be on board with Yannis Albert.
Yeah, Yannis, of course, he's been the driver to beat in the last couple of months in this series now. He really has set the standard, looking for 5 wins in a row tonight. And, of course, with himself and Anton Kaler being the only race winners of the series so far in the GT3 class, I think there's going to be a few drivers who will maybe just be hoping for second place in the face of some of the pace that we have seen. And there it is, first lap time on the ball from Yannis Albert, and he goes fast. It's a 40.8, I should say, for him. The only driver, and materially the only driver, in the 1 minute 40s. Jaden Scott now joins him, but sits in P2. Meanwhile, Thomas Noakes goes to the top of the time sheets in the GT4 class. We saw him really impress in qualifying at Le Mans, but wasn't quite able to deliver on the pace into the race. We'll see if he can try and get himself up towards the front of the field in the race tonight. Still lots of times still coming into the board, but Hidmer jumping up, William Humphrey jumping up. We've seen him, of course, dominate GT4s in this series for so long, and by that I mean the Evolution Sim Racing GT4 series, but he's now 2,000ths off and within range. Kalo though goes fast in the GT3s, then Terhar goes fast in the GT3s, but nearly half a second. The competition, it really clearly is quite high.
It looks to be, yeah, and I'm sure that, I mean, we've joined a little bit earlier than we normally join, so we must have got through our formalities quite quick tonight, Dora. But, yeah, I mean, look, it must be something to do with the tyre warm-up process, because each of the GT3 cars will definitely be taking a different amount of time to warm up the tyres. So, yeah, Yannis was leading the way, and then straight away Anton Kalo popped a lap in, and then Gianni Tehar said, no, thank you, I'm going to take that. So, yeah, brilliant lap from Gianni Tehar, 140.366. We're on board with Yannis Albert now as he comes through. Is Yannis going to improve, and is Yannis going to pop himself back onto that top step? We'll have a look as he comes through now, as Will Soper just pops himself up into P2, and Yannis goes over the line with a 140.5. So he has improved, but he hasn't outperformed Gianni Tehar in his Porsche. So fantastic lap there from Yannis. Jaden Scott, and meanwhile, goes up to P3. While all this is going on, let's have a little look at the GT4s. So we've got Thomas Noakes who is the new teammate. I think Thomas came in, was it last round or round before maybe, to join Anton Kalo, replacing Jelle Damstra, who couldn't race anymore. So Thomas is looking like he's setting the pace with a 148.5, and William Humphrey is less than a tenth behind him with a 148.6. So yeah, fantastic lap there from Thomas, and maybe William is just starting to see a little bit of pressure, Dora.
Yeah, he is, and clearly William is. Well, we know he's not really used to this kind of pressure in a GT4 in ESR. He just has been imperious in that machine. But with Thomas Noakes here, and even if he is going a little bit wide, there is definitely cause for concern for William Humphrey to keep up his runs of consistent winning in these championships and in this machinery. Fellows goes into P11. Niels Kula can only go P16. I think we'd be looking for a little bit more from him. He's 1.8 seconds off the pace in his class, and to be fair, Dean Sheesby needs to improve. There we go, he does improve. I can say he was only about a second faster than the GT4, and he popped himself up to P12, just as I mentioned that. So many improvements coming in. Will Soper goes P4 in the GT3s. Robin Earl Brown to the top 10 in the GT3s. Ian Chambers can't improve his position in the GT4s as Dan Cross pops Chambers down to 20th place, but so many times coming in at the moment, and it's difficult to keep track of with the amount of high quality that we have on the circuit to see all these times coming in, because you can see how close some of them are. I mean, you look at the top of the GT3 field, there's a gaggle of them that are, less than a tenth between each of them.
Yes, rather them than me. Definitely, as Matthew Croft just pops a lap in, pop himself into P10 there. I was just jumping on board with Rob Gregg, who hasn't managed to pop a lap in yet. So we'll see how we'll come back to Rob and see how he feels. A driver that I was just interested in having a look at, who's actually looks like he's gone back into the pits, is Pedro Luis da Silva. So Pedro Luis da Silva is in P9 with a 49.1, and it looks to me like he has gone back into the pits. So with still 10 minutes to go, that is a little unusual, Dara. I don't exactly know why they would be going through. I'm just trying to look how many laps they've done, and it does look like on my screen that they've completed all their laps.
Yeah.
So Nick Stubb has, Ryan Stringer has, Pedro Luis da Silva has finished his lap. So with 10 minutes still to go, because this is a 20-minute qualifying session, isn't it? It's not your usual 15-minute. That's why the confusion was there. I was thinking, how have they managed to get that round in that time? But yes, Robin Noel Brown there pops himself into 7th place. So Robin will be looking to make a good impression for the team tonight. I don't think the Cam GP2 team have done particularly great, talking to some of my teammates. So yeah, Robin will be looking to try and throw a few points on the board for them tonight. I don't think John Ludbrook is joining us, unfortunately, because we did have a few nice surprises for John lined up, but unfortunately he's not managed to join us. If you are joining us in the chat, John, just let us know, and I'm sure that we can still share some of those nice surprises with you. We got Arumas Zelinskas also has only done 2 laps, so Arumas is currently in P10 with a 141.3 in the Acura. Yeah, I've not seen any incidents come up yet, Dara, so the drivers must be taking the time to really bring these tyres in.
Yeah, I think we are seeing quite a few of the drivers that have finished their laps, but those that are still out just trying to get those final lap times on the board. Bobby Moss is a good example of that. He's about to cross the line. Can he jump up? He's not far behind some of the other times. I think he's going to stay where he is. In fact, he improves on the lap time, but doesn't improve his position. Petkovicius goes P9 to round out what I believe will be his session. We've still got the lap times waiting for the likes of Andy Chell, who hasn't set a lap time yet in that GT4 class, the number 5. In the GT3 class. He is the only driver to not set a lap time down there. So I think we're going to be waiting for a couple of laps from him. We'll get a good gauge of where he sits after this first lap time, but I think it's fair to say he's a little bit off the pace in terms of the front running speed. I don't think this will be anywhere near the top 10, but he will be able to go again. In fact, it'll be only enough, to stay in P17. 43.4. I think he's going to be trying to find a little bit more time than that. And he definitely can. 3.5 seconds off the back of Kalo means that there's definitely more time that Andy can find around this circuit. But again, so difficult to judge how much speed you can get through some of the corners. And a lot of it does take some learning experience in a qualifying session with such low fuel.
Yeah, and if that is his first lap, Dora, we've got to remember, as Andy just spins out there, I was almost on cue there. I was going to say that we've got to remember that these tyres are totally different to 2 weeks ago. So, some of the guys in the league were asking if we were going to change the qualifying format to allow for a longer qualifying. And we said, unfortunately, because the season is kind of halfway through, there was no fair possibility to kind of change that. And it's obviously the same for everybody. But yeah, I mean, I think Andy's just shown there, because that was on Andy's second lap, wasn't it? He's now, midway through his second lap. And I think the first kind of right-hand corner that he went to put a bit of lean into the tyre, and the car's just kind of come round on him. So yeah, that'll be a bit of a warning for Andy. He'll be taking it a little bit easy for the second half of this lap. And then I assume he's going to be hoping to get a better lap in for lap 3. Maybe even he might do another warm-up lap and just do one push lap for lap 4.
Yeah, very possible that. And there's all these different strategies that drivers will employ in a qualifying session like this, because there's a timer in the top right, but there isn't really a timer for the drivers when you consider that they kind of have every opportunity to do their own thing. 20 minutes to do 4 laps, but when the lap time's well under 2 minutes, means that they can just kind of do whatever they like to, do it however they like. There's so many drivers that have finished their session now. It just goes to show that you can play around with it exactly how you like. There isn't other cars on the track either to disrupt your lap times and to disrupt your run plan. So it's all about what you're doing, and you can game it out, well in advance of the session. It's just you've got 4 laps, do whatever you want with them. But you would like to think that the 4th is going to be that hardest push of them all, which is, I believe, what Andy Chell is on now. We'll see if he can jump up from P17. Backed off a little bit on that second lap to try and recharge and go again. And this is going to be the test to see if it's worked out for him.
Yeah, I think you can almost feel the nervousness of that back end. Oh my goodness me! You can. Andy's going to hate me. He's going to absolutely hate me, Dora. But I suppose this is the pros and cons of going out last when everybody else is in. You're going to get good exposure for your team, Andy, but at the same time, we've got nobody else to watch. So unfortunately, we're going to catch everything in, warts and all. So yeah, but I could almost feel Andy being a little bit kind of careful and cautious with the throttle, and I think it's kind of showing here. So another thing that I've just noticed, Dara, as well, is that as we just cut back to the normal camera there, Yannis Albert in 4th place. So again, in his NSX, the Acura, has he just not been able to get the power down like some of the other drivers have been able to do in the early part of the lap? Because, I mean, Yannis has been, oh my goodness, as Andy goes wide, Yannis has been kind of a good few tenths ahead of the other drivers in most of the other rounds, and here we are, tyre change, and all of a sudden he's down in P4.
Yeah, and that's kind of where he's going to have to work himself from, really. I mean, it's obvious, but he's been used to running out front for quite a lot of this championship when he's been here. Now he's gonna have to adapt and maybe change how he is racing to try and make his way through the order. But he's the champ. Well, he's not the championship leader, but he's won 4 in a row for a reason. And I have no doubt that he will pretty comfortably be able to at least battle with those front guys. I can't imagine he'll come into too many issues, as it looks like Andy Chell is off the road again. That could be the end of his session now, and that will be that for everybody, I do believe. But yeah, for Anton Kalo, for the championship leader who hasn't won in nigh on 2 months now, to be on pole position with a couple of cars between himself and Yannis Albert, who is his largest challenger, it's going to be giving him quite a lot of confidence, you'd have to say, because the last few weeks haven't been easy for him, and they have, you'd have to say, been quite damaging for his confidence in terms of not being able to get close to the race winner, the runaway race winner on a couple of occasions. To be on pole now is a great chance for him to get a little bit of control back in the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. I'm kind of really looking forward to tonight's race, but I'm also really nervous about that lap one, because you can just kind of feel that little bit of pressure, can't you? In terms of it's almost pass or be passed, but it's a bit like probably going to be a bit like driving in the wet, a bit like pass or be passed, but actually at any moment the car could kind of come round and, you know, while these tyres are not warmed up. Whereas if the whole field takes it nice and steady and lets them come in gradually, then there'll be less pressure on the other drivers. But as we know, we're all here to race, aren't we? So, you know, one driver thinks I'm going to go for it, especially if you've got somebody that's maybe a bit more skilled at kind of, you know, driving on loose tyres. You know, they start making waves, and all of a sudden that puts domino effect and pressure on the other drivers. And who knows, we might see a few incidents in the opening lap of, hopefully not in the opening lap of this session. Thomas Noakes secures that P1 for the GT4s as we look back at the group's positions. So not only Yannis Albert not getting his own way tonight, we've got William Humphrey also not getting his own way either. Fantastic quali for Martin Kenyon there in P3, so he will be absolutely delighted with that. Bobby Moss in P4, Marius Hibmer P5, he's got a bit of catching up to do there. Justin Hill P6, Tristan Engelstadt P7, Nick Stubb P8, Linus Petkovic P9, and Ryan Stringer making out the top 10. And then Pedro Luis da Silva, so the GT4 championship leader, down in P11. So he's going to have a bit of work to do, Dara, to work his way back through.
Yeah, that's going to be his concern. And of course, with just the 60 minutes to do so, not the full 90 minutes that we've seen a couple of times up to this point in the championship, so it will be a little bit more difficult to work your way through the order with less time in consideration. There is, of course, one less stop that the drivers will have to do over the course of the 1 hour, and we like to see drivers push it as far as they possibly can, likely towards that 45-minute, 50-minute mark. Although, having said that, this is a circuit that demands a lot from the fuel tank, so we might see drivers having to pit in slightly earlier than they otherwise would in the 60-minute races. So that's definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye out for. Everyone finished a long time ago, but the checker flag now flies on the circuit, and it means that we can run through the order. Are you happy to me to run through the order, James?
Absolutely, Dara. Yeah, you do it far better than I do, and I can try and keep up with you as you do it.
Well, we're not going to have long because the guys are loading in to the end of the second sector at turn 10, so it's not the longest formation lap, but it will be Anton Kalo who's got that short while to think about what he's going to do from pole position. Gianni Terhaar's behind him, and he'll have to assess the situation. Only 17 thousandths between them in qualifying. It's going to be a tight one. 2,000 split row number 2 with the Remo Solinchkas just about edging out Yannis Albert for 3rd and 4th, and it'll be 5 nationalities again inside the top 5 with Will Soper, the man who's been the most consistent over the course of all 7 races, 6 races I should say so far, finds himself in P5 ahead of Jaden Scotton. Denzel Clarkson, the Guyanan, will find himself 7th, and again only 12 thousandths ahead of Robin Noel Brown in P8. You can see there's big gaps between those rows, but differences of 17 thousandths, 2 thousandths, 24 thousandths, and 12 thousandths between the rows, so incredibly tight on each of them. Ben Bennyworth is ahead of Matt Hoyland, a little bit more between them as they make up row number 5. Adam Baker and Joshua Cohen, the lead Axis RDS8 driver, will start in P12. He's ahead of Matthew Croft and Andrew Fellows, Dean Cheesby, Dale Williams, and Andy Chell, who ran out the 17 GT3s. And the run of Brits continues with Thomas Noakes, William Humphrey, and Martin Kenyon 1, 2, and 3 in that GT4 class. They're just ahead of Bobby Moss, of course, who starts P4. Both Mycroft Racing Team cars will start P4 in their own classes, with Marius Hibmer in P22, which is P5 in class. 6th and 7th is Christian Elof and Tristan Engelstadt ahead of Nick Stubber and Linus Petkovic as Ryan Stringer. Pedro Luis da Silva, not much split there. They're just ahead of Stephen Donnelly and Chris Jennings, who round out the top 30 overall and the top 13 in class. Top 15 in class is completed with Daniel Poole and Dan Cross, with Callum Morrow in 33rd and Niels Kula a long way down where I think he'd expect to be in P34. Simon Hunt, the Brazilian Pete Paiva, Ian Chambers, and Rob Gregg, who didn't set a lap time, will round off the grid. 38 cars for us tonight, James. It's going to be quite a busy one, I think, in the early stages.
It certainly is, mate. It certainly is. And we will keep our eyes on the GT3 field. So apologies to the GT4 field, but for lap 1, we are going to stay with the GT3s, and we will try and keep our eye on all of the action. And we will keep everything crossed, as Anton Kalo looks like he's going to take them all the way to the line. And I'll let you take us round that first lap, Dara.
Yeah, here we go then. Anton Kalo on pole position. He's not been here for a while. He's not won any of the last 4 races after winning the opening 2 events of the championship. But he has got a great chance here tonight. Gianni Tejada's got a fantastic launch off of the line as we are racing now here in Barcelona. He's got a little bit of a jump. Kalo still has that inside line though. And Tejada will have to dance it around the outside if he's going to get this one done. The Finn breaks late, but not quite late enough. And the Dutchman will go around the outside. He's gone too deep though. Off the road momentarily. And Kalo goes through. Zelinskas defends from championship contender Yanis Silber as they run their way up through turn number 3 with the Lithuanian driver just about getting himself to that racing line. They drift wide in behind though through turn 3 as we always see drivers do. I think that's one of the DXT cars in the background just trying to negotiate their way through traffic, and 3 wide momentarily towards the front of the order. Soper still hanging around in P5, but there's a great run for Allbear outside line at turn number 5. He could get this one done, not quite yet. Zelinskas will hold on for the time being.
Oh, as Yanis gets a snake on coming out of turn 5, and that's let Will Saper through. So again, these tyres, as Yanis is absolutely in his boot almost. Will Saper's got a great run here up the inside of, no, he thinks better of it, up the inside of Aruma Zelinskas, and Yanis will be thinking, he'd be looking ahead thinking these guys in front are getting a little bit of a gap between him, but he's got to be patient, as of course he's not patient. This is Yanis Albert we're talking about. So he goes down the inside, and Aruma Zelinskas has had an incident. Aruma Zelinskas spun out, so he is not going to be able to rejoin. He's just rejoining right at the back of the GT3 class, so that is really unfortunate for him. Meanwhile, there's a nice little gap developed between Anton Kalo and Gianni Tejada, and then Yanis Albert. So 1.3 seconds gap that Yanis has got to make up there, Dara. So, wow, what an opening lap for the GT3s. Meanwhile, let's go and have a look what's happened with the GT4s.
Yeah, and it's William Humphrey who leads the way. Thomas Noakes has dropped down to P3, not what he would have wanted off of the start, but of course it was so close in qualifying between those top 2, so not surprising to see that they were close in the opening salvos. Tristan Engelstadt's just behind Thomas Noakes at the moment as they run towards turn 1 for the second time in this race. Kenyon still keeping himself very much in contention as well as in behind. We see Nick Stubber trying to keep Ryan Stringer behind. Goes deep though, and Stringer may have a run around the outside. Not quite going to get it done there, but could get to the inside for turn number 3. It's so difficult to judge where some of these cars are around you at such long corners such as this. But Stringer's just about going to get through on Nick Stubber, and Stubber could be worried about Donnelly in behind in a moment.
Yes, Donnelly looks up the inside. He says, if you're going through, I'm having a go as well. And then you've got Bobby Moss as well. Bobby Moss down in P9. As Donnelly just gets a bit of a snake on the back end of that Mercedes, as Bobby Moss must be thinking, right, I need to start making a bit of ground up here, running down in P9. He's usually running right near the front. There must have been an incident, Dara, on lap 1 for the GT4s, because we are out of sync. We've got Thomas Noakes out of sync, and we've got Bobby Moss out of sync. Yes, it just looks like, oh my goodness me, this looks like very, very, very close indeed. So, yeah, Bobby's still running. He's just managed to get past Nick Stubb, and then we've got Pedro Luis da Silva, who's leading this field as Linus Petkovic has a look down the inside, thinks better of it. And Pedro Luis da Silva is going to be chasing down those guys in front of him. Meanwhile, Gianni Tejada has dropped off the back of Anton Kalo by 0.6. So Anton has pulled out a nice gap there. I was reading some of the chat there while you were doing the grid run through, and Grant Miller joining us in the chat. Good evening, Grant. He said that after the latest update with the tyres, the McLaren has improved massively, and the NSX and Mustang were struggling a little bit. So that would probably play out at the moment with Anton Kalo. Not usually fast star at the beginning, is he, Anton? Anton's usually a kind of end of the race fuel save man. So maybe this tyre update has caused him to change tactics.
Well, possibly, but it's clear to see that he has been able to get away from the line very nicely indeed, and has left Albert a little bit in his wake, and that's really the key battle to watch. Kalo and Albert, of course, if Terha can get the win here, he keeps himself very firmly in contention. But at the same time, it's equally fair to say that I think he will need a couple of mistakes from Kalo and Albert towards the end of the season to give him a chance at possibly keeping himself in championship contention. Robin L. Brown gets close, but not quite close enough to Jaden Scotton to make any kind of move in towards turn number 10, but you can see how close that these guys are running at the moment. Albert almost the cork in the bottle for the moment at least. Will Soper hanging on to the coattails as it stands, but we haven't really seen too much of a spread of the field in the opening few laps in either class, and a track like Barcelona where it is easier to follow, not really too many heavy braking zones, I don't think we should be too surprised to see that.
Yeah, I don't think it's been. I think we've seen one incident with Aruma Zelinskas, which we just managed to catch on stream. I don't think we've seen too many others. We are now on to lap 3. So according to the bit of practice that I've done, I think these tyres take about 4 to 5 laps before they're up to their actual optimum. These guys will be bringing them in a bit quicker than I am, for sure, with the speed that these are going. So yeah, we should be about at that time now that the tyres are coming to their optimal performance, shall we say. So I would start to expect to see Yannis Albert close this gap down at some point in the next few laps. So we'll pop a little marker in of 1.5 seconds, almost 1.6, and then we'll see where that leads us to a little bit later. One driver that's having a really good run out so far is Adam Baker. So again, in another McLaren, so consistent with what Grant Miller was saying about the McLaren performing very, very well after the update. So yeah, fantastic run out for Adam Baker running in P9, and he's got Matt Hoyland behind him, so one of the leaders of the Pro-Am Teams Championship, and Matt has been performing, I would say, top 5 in the GT3 class. So Matt might be a little bit disappointed with being down in P10, do you think?
I'd agree with you. I think he'd be looking for a little bit more, but he's still got time, and he's definitely within range with the likes of Baker and Cohen. If he can get through on these guys relatively soon, then there's definitely going to be a chance for him to be, in contention because of that big long train behind Yannis Albert. I mean, the gaps between Kalo, Terha, and Albert are only just over that 1 second threshold, and you can see Albert, they're 7/10 faster on that last lap than Gianni Terha was. So there's a very big possibility that in just a moment, the top 7 could have gaps between them of less than a second between all of them. So Linskas definitely has less than a second up towards Matthew Croft. He's now past Matthew Croft inside line as he takes the inside line through turn number 1, and the Lithuanian is back up to P13. He'll be disappointed with how his race started turned out, because it was looking pretty good and then all to fall apart by the end of the opening lap.
Yeah, so just looking at Arumas just working his way back through. So he's got Dean Sheesby in front. It's no secret that Dean doesn't like the Porsche, or he didn't like the Porsche. So I don't imagine that Arumas will take too long to work his way through Dean. He'll probably pick a safe place to do it. We'll just jump on board with Arumas, who's sat behind. So I think he'll probably, as it looks like, it just takes a little bit too much of the curb there as Dean takes it on the inside. Is Arumas now going to get the power down in time? He does. He's going to look to the outside. This is going to be interesting as Dean looks to close the door a little bit. So, and they touch going around the outside, and Dean is defending this position really, really well. He's going to have the inside for the next corner. So I would imagine that would be at the next corner, the next preceding corner. That should be Arumas through. Dean is still holding his ground around the outside, so fair play to Dean as they come together again on the edge of the corner, and they're going 2x2x2, and Andre Muntien says, right, well, if you lot are going to do that, I'm going to have a look round the outside. He's going to pass both of them into the first corner.
Yeah, this is crazy. They're 3 wide into the braking zone. Outside line looks like it's going to be the one to not be on. Oh, as it gets very close, the Axis guy has to go wide. And momentarily off the road, Andy Chell comes through now, Matthew Croft. As we still see Zelinskas fighting with Dean Cheeseby. Can Andy Chell maybe pick up 3 in the space of a sector? He'd need a great run out of turn number 3 towards turn 4 to do so. And he's not quite going to be able to get it. But still there on side by side. Some door banging, some kissing of the doors at this point. With Zelinskas getting to the inside line now on Dean Cheeseby. He looks like he's dispatched him. But you can get a great run around the outside. Sadly not this time for Dean. And the inside line will be covered off. There'll be no sort of shenanigans that we saw a couple of weeks ago down into this corner. This time by at least. But Andy Chell will be lying in wait. These 5 cars nearly tripping over each other, and this is all for the back of the field.
Incredible battling as Dean just gets it slightly wrong coming out of the corner there, and I don't think Andy Chell had got anywhere to go, which meant that it was actually, I think it was Matthew Croft actually. It's not Andre Muntian. That's what's confused me a little bit as I looked through there. It's actually Matthew Croft that is reserving for Andre Muntian, and I was looking because it was on the sun shield of that NSX. So yeah, Matthew Croft in the NSX. That explains things. I was thinking, why have we got? I couldn't see Matthew's car. So yeah, great few laps from there. Meanwhile, back at the front, let's have a quick check-in. So Janitor Hart has dropped off 1.2 seconds behind Anton Kalo. And Yannis Albert has managed to close that gap, albeit only to Janitor Haar, of 7/10. We've got Will Soper in 4th, Jaden Scotton right behind him in 5th, and then Robin Noel Brown just dropped off the back in 6th place. So Robin's probably not got a big kind of part to play in this championship fight, so he'll be looking to just have a steady finish, maybe do a bit of fuel saving, and see what result he can get at the end. Right, let's go to the GT4. So apologies GT4s, but we've not managed to cover much of these guys yet this evening. So Thomas Noakes running in P3. We will have a look back through, Dara, at the next opportunity. I'll have a look back through and see if we can just have a quick summary of some of the incidents now things have settled down a little bit. So we've got William Humphrey is taking what he considers to be his rightful place at the front. So he's worked his way through well. We've got Marius Hibmer in 2nd place, and the other championship contender of Pedro Luis da Silva is still down in P10. Martin Kenyon, fantastic run at the moment in P4, managed to put himself a 1.9 second gap in between himself and Tristan Engelstadt. So I think as Tristan starts to get familiar, we know that Tristan's got good pace. I would expect that gap to start coming down a little bit as well. And then right behind him, we've got Ryan Stringer, followed by Stephen Donnelly, and then Bobby Moss. So Bobby Moss still in that 8th place, still got to work his way through. So some of these drivers have got a bit of work to do here, Dara.
They do, and we are still in the early stages of the race, so they still have time, but it's just not been a good day for some of them. But they have a little bit of work to do in terms of getting themselves further up the order. Zelinskas very much one of those guys. As Matt Hoyland does get through on Joshua Cohen, mind you, for P8 in the GT3 class. He's just about managed to do that through turn 3. And as I was mentioning just a few minutes ago, if he can negotiate his way through on Cohen, he can maybe try and start to chase after the top 7, who were close at the time. They've gapped out a little bit, but the chances are definitely still there for all of these guys as they run through this opening stint. We don't still know if anybody's doing much about fuel saving at this stage. We could be seeing that become a theme towards the end of the race. But if you're Yannis Albert and you're sitting just behind Gianni Zahar, only about 2 seconds off the lead, you could probably get quite a lot from fuel saving here, sitting in P3, conserving what you've got in the tank, because you could make up 2 positions in the pit lane from this position if you're able to fuel save that bit better than the others around you.
Are you possibly suggesting that Yannis Albert is doing an Anton Kalo on Anton Kalo? He's like reversed the strategy, maybe. Yeah, he's because there's one thing for sure, Anton's definitely not going to be able to do any fuel saving where he is, right at the front, and trying to pull a bit of a lead, as it looks like Yannis has got a bit of a run here on Gianni Zahar. Let's jump on board and have a look at that quad dash Porsche and see if Yannis can actually get the run. Is he going to go move to the inside? He's not. I think we've just caught him there. We've caught him fuel saving. So yeah, little sneaky little hint of what Yannis is up to. Probably got one eye on Anton Kalo just up the road, thinking I can still do that as he looks to go up the inside, Dara. And that is classic case of GT4 slightly in the way as Gianni Terhar comes up the inside. And that is Yannis Olber through. Well, that's his fuel saving strategy gone and out the window. So he's going to be looking to chase Anton down now with a 2.2 second gap.
Yeah, and it's going to be definitely a bit of a titanic battle at the front of the field. Those two drivers are the only two drivers that have won a race so far this season in the GT3 class, and that theme looks as if it is heading towards continuation. Of course, we still have 45 minutes in this race for those two to maybe skittle themselves out of the contention, and for Gianni Terhar to walk through. So thank you very much, gentlemen, and take home his first win of the season. But you would suspect that it might need some contact between the two championship rivals, all bear with 4 in a row. Kalo just going to hang on to his coattails. Second place from here to the end of the season would be enough for Anton Kalo to take home the Drivers' Championship, but of course I'm thinking about the teams as well. Kalo a little bit further down than Yannis Olber in the team's regard, with the great results that I think we're seeing from Bobby Moss to help along Yannis Olber for the Minecraft Racing team, but Kalo's still trying to get him and his teammate inside the top 5 by the end of the season. Not positive happenings for Niels Kula. He's just been assaulted into turn 5. I think there's any other way to put it, to be honest.
Well, yeah, we were just I was just having a little catch up there, and it looks to me from the timing software that is the only incident that we've got actually as a, let's say, a bona fide crash. So all of the drivers have done fantastically well. I know that we saw the incident with Aruma Zelinska spinning off track, so we've got another one for Ian Chambers. Ian Chambers had an incident just now. I think this was coming out of turn 8. Was it coming out of turn 8 as he goes up to the right-hander? Ooh, just gets on the curb, bit too much power, under braking, and then the car gives way and says, no thank you, I'm going to let go. So not too bad, not too bad. Nobody else involved, so he can get back going again. So as we look downfield a little bit, so we've got Pete Paiva having a bit of a battle here, and I think that's Anton Kalo coming through. It is, and he's got Nils Kula right behind him, and Anton's got to work his way through this traffic.
Yeah, and Anton, it's difficult to negotiate your way through, but we are... Oh, hello! Yannis Olber steaming down the inside. I didn't really see him coming. I don't think neither did Niels Kula, to be completely honest with you, but he's negotiated his way through on a couple of cars. And traffic management is always an important factor, isn't it? And we talk about it week in, week out in this championship. But when you're this close and you're Yannis Olber trying to catch up to the cars in front, these are crucial moves to make, and he's now just only about a second behind Kalo now.
He is, and I was just kind of feeling it a little bit for Gianni Terhar there, because it looked like Anton and Yannis had a really good run through the traffic, the first bit of traffic, and Gianni not so. But actually, it's not too bad. He's 2.2 off the back, and he's got a 1.5 second lead to Will Soper behind him. So whilst it's probably not been ideal for Gianni, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. So yeah, I think his mission now will be to try and work his way back through, as Jaden Scotton is now right on the back of Will Soper. So Jaden in the Corvette for the Flatline Racing Green team, he's right on the back. So he's made up one place from the start, but I don't think he was right on the back of Will, unless Will's had a bit of an incident earlier on. Yeah, this is really good going for Jaden, and he'll be looking to kind of close that down on Will, and maybe try and think about if he could secure himself a podium finish. But we'll have to see how that plays out. We've got 42 minutes remaining, so it's still very, very, very early days, as Zelinskas is now back up to, so he's worked his way back up to P10. He's got ahead of Adam Baker, so he's 1.9 seconds behind Josh Cowan, so he'll be looking to try and recover something. As we look further downfield to the Dale Williams as a driver that I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to. So Dale is replacing Joe Glass tonight. So Joe can't attend tonight, so he's substituted, or their team has substituted their reserve driver in of Dale Williams. So Dale is currently running down in P16. I don't think Dale did qualifying, so I think Dale's just going for a nice steady finish and scoring and contributing a few teams' points to the Glass Tech Racing team that may well prove beneficial come the end of the season if they're in a battle with another team and there's only a few points in between them.
Yeah, and those extra points could be crucial. And we've seen how close the team's championship is at this stage, let alone in just a couple of races' time. So, yeah, great for Glass Tech to have Dale Williams in here. And yeah, like you say, even if he's not picking up, a whole host of points, a few would definitely be great, or gratefully accepted by the team, and could give them a good chance at going after top 5, top 3 in that championship by the end of the season. And for Anthony Fellows for the Flatline Racing team, he's looking to pick up a few points as well. Everybody finishes in that GT3 class, and actually the GT4 class will pick up points, even if you have moments like this. Rear end going for Anthony Fellows, that rear end steps around, and then it's a case of recovering it from the runoff area. We've seen it quite a few times, not necessarily in this race so far, but it's an easy one to do. And just that oversteer moment, not being able to catch it, that's what's caught out Anthony Fellows.
Yeah, it looks like it might have caught Dale Williams as well. So this was just going past the GT4 car, and yeah, going around the outside, looked like he'd got space. GT4 had got nowhere to go. So yeah, very, very unfortunate there for Dale. Don't know how familiar Dale is with the multiclass overtaking of other drivers and vice versa, but yeah, got back going again. So we'll try and keep up with the incidents as and when they happen. And we've got another one now for Dean Sheesby. So Dean Sheesby in the Porsche has had a bit of an incident. Let's have a look what happened here as Dean looks like he's going to go up the inside. Probably, probably difficult. Thought the GT4 was leaving the door open, but maybe that wasn't the case. So, yeah, unfortunate there. And it looks like that's taken Justin Aloff as well. So I think this is the same incident, Dara, as Justin Aloff was going into the corner. Yeah, Dean's coming from a long way back there, and just a little tap on the rear end has just sent Justin's rear end spinning around. Very, very, very unfortunate. So he'll have a little bit of work to do to get himself back into a better position.
Christmas came early for that Quatermass car, though, just being able to drive through the mess that happened in front, and being able to get through. Denzel Clarkson late move to the inside line on Adam Baker. Baker can just hook it around the outside and keep himself in P11. Denzel having to find another way through. The GT4 cars just in front may provide a little bit of a chance for assistance in enabling the 95 to get inside the top 11. Now, we are at the kind of phase of the race midway through that opening stint, aren't we, where we kind of get a sense of how much drivers are wanting to save here and how much they're looking to try and hold back. Yannis Albert hasn't been looking to hold back in this race. He is right on the back of Anton Calo for the overall lead. There is only 4 tenths as they come onto the main straight. This will be the best chance of the race so far that Albert will have to lead it.
Yeah, we thought, didn't we? We thought that gap would start closing down. So they've managed to put 3.3 gap into Gianni Terhar. So as Anton Calo looks like he's got it looks like it's William Humphrey, as Yannis Albert says, no, I'm going to have a go around the outside. It is William Humphrey, yeah, as Yannis Albert looks like he just got in the way of Anton Calo, and Yannis around the outside said, well, if you're not going through, I am. And yeah, overtake done. Let's have a quick replay of that and see exactly how that happened. So we got William on the inside, just braking. We got, yeah, Anton was just boxed in, wasn't he? Nowhere to go. Yannis had held the corner, kept the momentum up, and that is job done for Yannis Albert. So not exactly the start that he was looking for initially, but he's back to running at the front. So I guess the best that Anton can do now is kind of try and stick in that draft and see what fuel he can save behind him.
Yeah, was able to do him like a kipper there, really, wasn't he, Yannis Albert? Just to pinch Anton to the inside line and then pick up the position. And now this is Yannis Albert's race to lose. He's got 3 1s in his number, but he could have 5 1s in his standings column in about 36.5 minutes' time, if he can keep up this pace, keep up the momentum that we've seen of late, and get himself to the front of the field, or to the checker flag first, I should say. It's already at the front of the field. Scotton made a move to the inside line at turn 5. That's on one of the Axis Conehead cars, and effectively done. He negotiated his way through on Will Soper, who's heading for another top 5 finish again, but I'm sure we'll be looking for a little bit more if he can keep tabs with Scotland in the next few minutes.
Yeah, I think some of this depends on what the guys are going to do in terms of fuel. As Jaden looks like we've got Dale Williams coming out of the pit, not going to interfere with any of those drivers, so that's all good. So yeah, I think it depends on what they're planning to do with fuel, and if some of the drivers have been fuel saving. I know it can make a significant difference, so you could be looking at a couple of seconds saving in the pit, which sometimes can equate to a slightly longer out on track. So yeah, with Will only being 1.4 seconds behind, and we're only 35 minutes through, I would imagine that if he has been doing a little bit of fuel saving, then he might be able to get himself back into contention with Jaden. But Jaden does seem to have fantastic pace. I mean, his last lap was a 141.7, which is about the same sort of pace as Gianni Terhar. Anton Kalo's last lap was a 142.3, so a bit slower. And Yannis Albert, by comparison, was a 141.2. So yeah, Jaden had got significant pace advantage. So whether we're going to see him pull away or we're going to see Will kind of fuel save and try to recover a bit of that in the pits, I don't really know. We've got Denzel Clarkson having an absolute great battle here with Adam Baker for what is P11 in the GT3 class. So I think Denzel is usually a little bit further upfield than this Dara. So, but he did tell me that the NSX wasn't particularly the car of his choice. I think the car of his choice is the BMW, because he did ask if it could be changed in the series, but unfortunately it's not possible in this series. So so maybe after the update he's kind of struggling a little bit to get to grips with it.
Yeah, that's a clear possibility, I think, for him. And yeah, I think difficult really if you're in a car you don't feel 100% comfortable in, to be honest. However, adapting to it, maybe putting in a couple of laps, kind of find a setup that works for you in the car is the way I think he definitely would have been trying to go about it. It's just not been able to work out too well for him over the course of the race so far. But we'll have to see if he can work on it and maybe work his way forward in the next few laps. He's gone backwards a touch, but he is still relatively close. And although there isn't too many close gaps in that GT3 class, it's fair to say there's not big gaps, are there? Most of them are, 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, 2.5. It's a pretty tightly packed field in a way we haven't seen much this season.
Yeah, I'm just watching Pedro Luis da Silva is back up to 6th place. So he just made a move on Stephen Donnelly coming into turn 1. So the BMW driver just starting to get his hand in a little bit now. He's coming through up to 6th place. So that's a 5-place improvement from his qualifying position. I wonder if, I know that Pedro's got a young child, so I wonder if he's maybe not had time to practice this week, and this is actually what we're now seeing live is Pedro getting used to the car and the circuit and the conditions and everything else. But he's right on the back of Nick Stubb now, so 4 tenths. I mean, visual gap, you can see it. So yeah, I think that he's probably going to be thinking that any time now he's going to be looking to make that move. And Bobby Moss at the same time has gone up to P4, but we have had some pit stops in the GT4s, some early pit stops. So we've had Tristan Engelstadt has pitted early, Ryan Stringer's pitted early, Justin Eloff has pitted early, but I think Justin would have been for that fast repair. And we've also got Marius Hibmer, Marius is down in P19 in the GT4s, and we've not seen any incident for Marius, so I've got no idea what's happened to him there. I can imagine that maybe 1 or 2 of them have taken an early pit stop, unless we've missed an incident. But we will have another trawl back through Nara and see if we've missed anything.
Yeah, that definitely might be the case. I mean, there's so many cars on the circuit, isn't there? Difficult to keep track of every single driver circulating, and if they lose a second or 2 by going wide, it's difficult to spot in the midst of everything on the timing tower. But it has been quite engaging start to the race. Battles up and down the field. Battles still raging. Still raging for the lead in the GT3 class with Yannis Albert and Anton Kalo separated by less than a second. William Humphrey has run away from Thomas Noakes, hasn't he? Over the course of over the course of the race so far, but Noakes hasn't really been falling into the trap of Kenin or Bobby Moss, who has worked his way back up the order to P4. So it's been a engaging race, and with gaps that are kind of at this range, if drivers are kind of out of the way in terms of pit stops, or sorry, quite close for the pit stop window, I should say, then they may not be able to get out of the way of a battle by the end of the race if we see some discrepancies in the pit stop time. So that could be an interesting one to watch in the next 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see the pit stops coming into play about 25 minutes to go. It's between 25 minutes and 20 minutes to go. So yeah, Anton's doing quite well to hold this at less than 4/10 behind Yanis. Martin Kenyon holding this third place with Bobby Moss quite a bit behind him, really, 5.8 seconds. So I think that we've missed something there on that opening lap that cast a little bit of a gap between these drivers. But nevertheless, Bobby Moss back into P4, so he'll probably be feeling that's a bit more comfortable of where he's used to, and also for the team's championship. I did get a message earlier on to say that Joe Sparrow had been watching the Le Mans 24-hour and probably exhausted, so that might be why he's not turned up for JSD Racing. I don't imagine Stephen Donnell is particularly impressed with that, but yeah, Stephen's having quite a good race actually, down in P7, and I was just thinking about Thomas Noakes there. Whilst he might not have been able to take it to William Humphrey as he probably would have liked to have done, nevertheless, this is still really, really good teams championship points for himself and Anton Kalo, because at the moment they're both running in P2 in class. So I guess from a team's perspective on the evening, there wouldn't be many teams outscoring that.
No, you're absolutely right. But it has been really quite, I think, interesting to see that dynamic shift over the course of the last couple of weeks, with Thomas Noakes really coming to the fore for that NK Simsport team. They are going to be right back in contention with, Kalo and Noakes second, and with the Minecraft Racing team first and fourth in their respective classes right now. It really is providing that interesting balance between the points. We could see that championship run closely towards Portimao in a couple of weeks' time. Ben Bennyworth has been another really consistent driver for Quatermass this season. I don't think we've really seen him run in the top 3, top 5, but it's been so consistent in being around 7th. I feel like every time I look at him, he's in 7th. And to be honest, it's not necessarily a bad place to be, is it, James? I mean, I take 7th every single race.
I'd take 7th once every now and again, Dara. Not every race, but yeah, I suppose in some ways Ben is kind of running a net P6 really, because we've got Robin Noel Brown reserving, who's having a good run. He's having a really good run in P6, Robin Noel Brown. But I think normally Jim Fox would be behind Ben Bennyworth, so that's probably putting him back into his usual sort of expected kind of position on class for the Quatermass Motorsport Bravo team. I'm very, very impressed with how many times we've got Quatermass correct. So I'm hoping that when Andy watches this back, he's impressed with the fact that we've retained it. And another driver that just caught my eye there was Aruma Salinskas. He's back to P9, and he's now just over a second behind Matt Hoyland. So yeah, that unfortunate spin early on, it's a real shame about that, because he's got really, really good pace. He's just done a 41.05, so he's running faster than Anton Kalo, faster than Gianni Terhar. Jaden Scotton did a 40.8. So yeah, Aruma certainly does have race-leading pace. Matt Hoyland just kind of keeping on the back of Ben Bennyworth, so he'll be looking probably to try and do something in the pit stops, I would imagine. And Adam Baker still running in the top 10. So great result for Adam in that revived McLaren. So according to Grant Miller, who obviously has got the inside line with the iRacing Devs team. So yeah, fingers crossed that Adam can keep this up, and a top 10 finish, I imagine he'll be really happy with.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I think for Adam Baker right now, that battle in behind is going to be one that's going to keep him very much focused all the way towards the end of this race. We are past that half-distance mark, of course. No one of note has made their way down pit lane yet, however, and I think we are still waiting for that phase of the race to really bring in a bit of drama to what we will be seeing. Cohen going deep, trying to defend from Denzel Clarkson, who is hugging that inside curb like it is his grandmother. I think we are going to start to see these guys battling out, and if they do, Adam Baker could find his way through. And just as I said that we weren't seeing pit stops, Janis Albert comes in, and maybe that's a note of how hard he's been pushing over the course of the opening half of the race here, because he has come in before anybody else, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of his rivals go 2, maybe even 3, 4 laps longer.
Who knows, Dora? Dora, who knows? I'm struggling. I'm struggling a little bit to hold it together, because that has to be the phrase of the season so far. Hugging the inside line like his grandmother is absolute priceless. So I'll, if you don't mind, I'll note that down for some time before the end of the season. But yeah, I was struggling there for a moment. I just thought, where has that come from? but yeah, so Yanis is in. And he's out in P9. So I guess the question now is, how long can Anton Kalo go? And he still does have Janny Terhar right behind him. So whilst there is a little bit of a gap there, it's only 1.1 seconds. I mean, that can be easily lost or gained when you're coming into pit entry, pit exit, if you miss the stall, for example, or just overshoot your marker, whatever. So we'll see. Let's have a look on board with Anton. Is he going to be into the pits this time? Something's telling me that he's not. I think Yanis has probably pitted early because of traffic, as we've got another driver pitting, which is Callum Morrow. No, so Anton continues, Gianni continues. I think that we're probably about 3 or 4 minutes away, maybe a couple of laps more for these guys. And if Yanis is out into free air, which he is, of course, yeah, I think that might be a tactical play by Yanis to get in, out of the traffic, and then come out in free air, and he can put the hammer down now and try to gain himself a bit of a gap between the others. So we'll see how that plays out. We've got a few guys in. We've got Jaden Scotland as well in the pits. So I think Jaden pitted from P5, if I remember rightly, and he just managed to work himself that gap up to Will Soper that is running in P3. So yeah, we'll see how the pit stops fare for these guys. I think traditionally the GT4s have actually taken a little bit longer, none so much so than Linus Petkavicius, who seems to be able to run these cars within an inch of its life, and he's currently running in P8.
Yeah, he's been working his way back through the order, isn't he, after that moment off of the start, but he is looking pretty strong at the moment to try and get himself towards the likes of Stephen Donnelly, Pedro Lucy Silva, Nick Stubber. That's a very closely tight or closely packed group. Kenyon and Bobby Moss are in though, so that'll promote everybody up a couple of positions this moment of the race. Pit stop time is definitely one that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because particularly with Yanis Albert still the only major contender in the GT3 class to have pitted, means that Anton Kalo, Johnny Tehar may be able to shave off a couple of seconds in their pit stop time. 19 seconds it is for Martin Kenyon. So that'll give us a bit of a read on how long we're expecting some of the pit stops to be as we run on, and we can kind of get guess how much time can be gained by others around. Niels Kula coming down the main straight though, overtaking Martin Kenyon. Willie, not quite as they run in towards turn number 1, but the Latvian drives go around the outside, have the inside line for turn 2, and immediately Kenyon, after a moment of solid stops in the box, has been thrown out into this intense battle with Engelstadt coming through as well.
Yeah, I think Tristan Engelstadt pitted early, didn't he? So he's now up to full speed. Tyres won't have had any cooling period. I did notice that Martin was up on the jacks, so that really does surprise me. Maybe he's just taken 2 left tyres for this circuit, maybe? Or would he, I don't know, would he have taken the opposite side? I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure why the drivers would be up on the jacks, but I noticed Bobby Moss was as well. And I think Bobby Moss's time was significantly longer as Robin Nolbaum just sneaks through. And as Martin Kenyon lets those GT3 cars through, Tristan Engelstadt says, right, I am coming through. And he is now through. So he's into P9, but I'm just trying to work out how many drivers he's got in front of him. All of the drivers in front of him haven't pitted. So possibly Tristan Engelstadt could be running in something like net P3, possibly, to come out ahead of Nick Stubb. So that's my very, very crude calculation. I'm sure I'll have it massively wrong, as Martin Kenyon looks up the inside. Martin is not finished yet. He's probably a little bit fuming that he's been pickpocketed with those GT3s, as we've got Stephen Donnelly in the pits, and these two are out and away. So they're going to come out ahead of Stephen Donnelly. I think they're going to come out ahead of Stephen Donnelly. Yeah, he's still in the pit. So these guys have gone way past him. As Martin looks like he's going to have a run. He goes to the outside, which if he could hold it around the outside of this corner, it will give him the inside, but no, he can't. Tristan Engelstadt turns in lovely onto that apex, and Martin just has to tuck in behind. So, yeah, great racing from these guys, and we're going to see exactly where they're going to come out when all of the cars in front have actually pitted.
Yeah, and it's really difficult to read at the moment, isn't it? There's no doubt about that. You know, there's a lot of drivers who we don't necessarily know how long their pit stops are going to be, when exactly they're going to be taking them. It's difficult to really get a good judge on where we lie. I mean, Anton Kalo is about to run 7-8 minutes longer than Yannis Albert in his stint, which is going to be, you know, providing him so much of a benefit at the moment. It's just going to be a case of, is it enough to get him into the lead and enough to keep him in front? Tehar as well, he's right there in this battle. We really could have a three-way fight right the way towards the end of this race. And obviously, it's difficult to read in the GT4s. As you said, we think Tristan Engelstadt could be as high as third on the net, but it depends. Of course, he is about 27 seconds behind Nick Stubber. Sorry, he's sorry, that's completely wrong. Don't listen to that. He's about 40 seconds, give or take, behind Thomas Noakes, was what I was trying to say. So it's difficult to read that. Kalo stays out. Terhar comes in, and this is kind of where we see where Terhar can come out against Yannis Albert. This will be the important read, because of course Kalo was right around him when they pitted. It was a 42 flat for Anton Kalo last time by. What's the lap time going to end up being for Yannis Albert? That'll be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, so Gianni doesn't take to the jacks as expected, so it's fuel only. Let's have a look what Gianni's pit time is going to be. He's going to be on his way out any time now, and he is indeed. So his stationary time was 15.84, and Yannis's was 14.1. So Yannis is way ahead, and Gianni's come out in traffic. So I think Yannis coming out into that free air has done exactly what he expected and exactly what he wanted to do. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on Anton. Meanwhile, this battle between Pedro Luis da Silva and Bobby Moss, these guys have both pitted as well. So as Bobby Moss looks up the inside of Pedro Luis da Silva and gets that job done, and then you've got Ryan Stringer right behind as well. So these last 20 minutes, Star, are always absolutely frantic, aren't they? As soon as the pit stops start working the way out, it's like a mass race to the finish, and everything goes.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've really loved watching in this series, isn't it, so far this season, where we kind of get that bunch towards the end, and drivers just trying to really work it out in terms of the pit strategy and then find their way out of the pit lane. Kalo now comes in, but we don't expect him to be anywhere near Yannis Albert when he does emerge from the pit lane. His fight will be with Gianni Tehar on pit exit. That's going to be really key. And with 17 minutes to go in this race, I think that could be a battle we watch towards the end, but it does seem that Yannis Albert is heading for 5 race wins in a row. Incredible, really, when you consider some of the quality in this field, but he has just been so consistent up to this point, and Yannis Albert will get through on Zelinskas. He'll get through on Soper, and he'll get through on Anton Kalo, and will retake the lead. It's been about 12 minutes since he was last in the lead, but he's back there again, and we'll have quite a comfortable margin now.
Yeah, let's have a jump on board with Gianni Tehar, as we've got Anton Kalo coming out the pits now in front of him, and that is the gap that you can see. Anton Kalo just making his way through those GT4 cars, the yellow and black car in the distance, and Gianni Tehar will be thinking, what have I done? He's had a fast pit stop, he's fuel saved, and all of a sudden he's now 3.3 seconds behind, just getting it a bit squirrely there as he tries to go past that GT4 car. So yeah, Gianni probably secured in P3. Whether or not he can make that gap, that 3.8 second gap back up, I'm not entirely sure, but maybe that was to do with the fuel saving that Anton did earlier, and he's just had a shorter pit time. But yeah, he's kind of out and up the road, and that looks like, with 16 minutes to go, that looks like it could be the bottom step of the podium for Gianni Terhar.
Yeah, not exactly. I think what he would necessarily want to be the bottom step of the podium, but he still does have a chance at maybe getting a little further up the order. We are also seeing Thomas Noakes into the pit lane, one of the last drivers to come into the box. We're also waiting, of course, William Humphrey to make his way down pit lane, but the drivers at the front clearly being able to whisper their way further into this race and give the fuel tank, maybe just work their magic on the fuel tank, give themselves a chance at running longer and longer in this race. Pekka Vicious goes through to the top 3 again, but he is yet to pit. We've seen him run long every single race so far this season, so no surprise to see him doing it once again.
He's the fuel whisperer. He's the absolute fuel whisperer. But it looks like William Humphrey is trying to take that title off him. So, yeah, William's gone very long. I don't know. I presume that he will be in this lap. And then Thomas Noakes, I think, is running net P2. So there's William, there's Nick Stubb, there's Pekka Vicious, the Fuel Whisperer, there's Chris Jennings, and there's Dan Cross. We've not mentioned Chris Jennings much tonight. We did have a little bit of screen time for Chris last week, and unfortunately the commentator's curse did kick in. So not to try and ignore you, Chris, but I was trying to stay out of your way and not cause any incident. So running in P4, but has not yet pitted. We've also got Dan Cross just behind him, so currently running in P5. I think these guys must be due to pit, and here we go. William Humphrey is coming in the pits.
Yep, he is boxing with 14 minutes to go. It could be a relatively short final stint, it's fair to say. With about a 2-minute lap, it's going to be, all of a 7-lap stint, maybe an 8-lap stint. Not much at all for him. He will be the one to really be just staying in front the entire race. Nick Stubber might come in. If he doesn't come in, which it doesn't look like he has, he will lead the race for a little while. But you wouldn't say it's going to be enough for Thomas Noakes to inherit the lead. Pekka Vicious comes in, Jennings in as well. So Nick Stubber today looks like he is the fuel whisperer. And Dan Cross as well, who's gone through. They are going to run over 47 minutes on the opening stint in this race, which is not bad going at all, James.
No, it's awesome going. And Martin Kenyon is absolutely not giving in with that battle with Tristan Engelstadt, which we think is for a net P3, I think we said, behind Thomas Noakes. So that actually looks like it's playing out with what we expected, Dara. We've got Tristan Engelstadt 2.6 seconds behind Thomas Noakes, but Martin Kenyon is hanging in there. So fair play to Martin. He's doing what's needed of him. He's ahead of Stephen Donnelly in the GT4s. So there's really nothing else that Martin can do that's asked of him in the race tonight. So whilst it might only be a net P4 for Martin, I guess, knowing Martin, he'll be pushing to try and get onto the podium. Might pressure Tristan into a bit of a mistake, maybe. But yeah, that's the best that he can do in the Teams Championship. And by outscoring his rival competitor in the GT4 class.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, what he's looking for, isn't it? As we get towards the latter stages of the season, it's difficult, really, as a driver when you get into this kind of point in a championship. Not necessarily knowing exactly where you're fighting, because there's still a lot of drivers, runners and riders, really in contention. But I think for a few of the drivers out there, they really have defined goals, defined drivers at this stage of the season, who they're racing against, who they're racing with, and who they really want to / need to be beating in order to be putting themselves in with a shot for what would possibly be maybe a championship, maybe a top 5, maybe even just a top 10 in a championship. For the teams as well, putting the team in a fantastic position to be able to attempt to go and win that championship, which I think has held a little bit more weight in the drivers' minds than it normally would in a lot of championships, because the teams championship in this Evolution Sim Racing European GT Championship is so critical. It's in the minds of them quite a lot. more so than the drivers in some regards, which isn't what you usually get in a championship like this. But it is changing how the drivers race, and it is changing, I think, some of their expectations for the rest of the season.
It's all about the money, Dara. It's all about the cash prize. That's exactly what it is. You're dressing it up nice and political, but we know the truth. It is all about the money. So, yeah, the first time that we've done cash prizes in ESR. So, it definitely, speaking to some of the drivers, it definitely makes a difference, wanting to finish as high up as they can in the Teams Championship. I think the first threshold that everybody's looking for is to get the highest possible personalised trophy, so it's top 5 for the teams, and then after that I think then it comes down to, you know, the cash prize that's on offer for this particular championship, which is our first one that we've done on a Sunday, and yeah, I think the guys are thinking that it's obviously free tracks, free cars, and, you know, iRacing credits to go towards the hobby that they love. So whilst it might not be $1 million, at the same time, it's all kind of funds that go towards the hobby that they love. So yeah, I think that's what makes it kind of super competitive for these guys. Plus, of course, they get their entry fee back if they get over 6th place, if I remember rightly. So yeah, the 2 drivers would kind of get their entry fee back and have raced for nothing, so to speak. So I think that's what makes the difference with the teams.
Yeah, I you know me, James. I do championships where you have to really dress it up politically, but you're right. Yeah, if I could race this well, and there was a bit of cash on the line, I'm gonna go for it. I know you probably would as well.
You could say,
that is what they're all racing for.
You could say you could say whatever you want for our league, Dora, because with that kind of, I mean, if you want to hug a curb like hugging your grandma, you could definitely say it's all about the cash. Don't worry about that.
When you talk about endurance races long enough and you've got nothing to say, you've got a few of those because, you know, left in the locker after a while, and you can whip them out every now and again, keep people on their toes. But yeah, you're right. Money definitely a big driving factor for these guys. They can't get any for this particular race, but of course it all adds up over the course of the season, and that's kind of why having reserves, I think, for some of the teams is so critical. And it goes back to the point we were talking about earlier, with the Glass Tech boys having Dale Williams in the car. Having said that, of course, he is looking like he won't be scoring any points at all, but points still stands, of course. At the same time, we're seeing Denzel Clarkson down the inside. Oh, aggressive move on Adam Baker. Chops back down through to the inside line as Adam Baker, and he will keep himself inside the top 11 for the time being. Really, really closely fought battle now, with only about 8.5 minutes to go. This one's going to go down to the wire.
What a move this was from Adam Baker and Denzel. So I think Adam gets the inside on the first corner. Denzel gets the switchback, and then if I've got this at the right moment, I think Denzel goes round the inside, breaks late, and look how close that was. Adam Baker getting the run on the switchback there. He almost polished his bumper for him. So yeah, fantastic driving from these two. Really, really great to see.
Yeah, and it's great that they've been able to keep the battle up. Denzel Clarkson not a million miles away still, off the back of Adam Baker. And we could see this one continue as we work our way towards a conclusion in this race. Less than 8 minutes to go for race leader Yanis Allbear. And when we can get a read of where he is on the circuit when he next crosses the line, we might have to get a... Thank you, James. We will get a read of how many laps we have to go, because the lap times have been bubbling around that 1 minute 43 mark at the moment. I think we're going to get 4 more laps. In fact, we almost certainly will get 4 more laps on conclusion of this one. It's about 100 seconds for a lap. 6 minutes is 300 and... Oh, actually, it could be 5. Or we'll wait and see. I'll do the math when it gets easier, James. That's always my way.
Yeah, you're the man. You're the man who works these things out. So at a certain moment, you just say, "Oh, I wonder how long's left, and I wonder where Yanis is," and I know that's my cue to go find him and tell you where he is, as he just comes over the line now with exactly 7 minutes remaining. So a massive thank you to all the viewers that are joining us in the stream. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody that's been keeping us entertained in the chat as well. If you like the racing that you're seeing, we would massively appreciate a like on the stream. I think we had 29 was the record number of likes that we got on the stream a few rounds ago. So, yeah, if you could give us a like, that would be more than appreciated. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and you want to keep up to date with everything that ESR are doing, then if you can hit that subscribe button, that will also help us promote the league and also the excellent liveries and racing that these guys all do week in, week out. So now we've covered Yannis Albert, we can see that this battle between Denzel and Adam Baker is still going on. It's the closest battle we've got on track in the GT3 class, with only a tenth between them.
Yeah, and it's really quite enthralling to watch as we get towards the end of this race. I think there will be, when Yannis crosses the line again, 4 more to go, by just a few seconds. If my maths is correct, that's the big asterisk to that. But it means that these guys have got a little bit longer to keep this battling going. Adam Baker still holding on from Denzel Clarkson, but he has not been able to get away. Doesn't look like they're going to be catching Joshua Cohen any time soon, so there won't be too much worry from Joshua about these two behind, especially if they continue to battle. But these guys continue on. Denzel very tight to the inside at turn 5, but it's not going to garner him any chance at a position. Yannis crosses the line again with 141. Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about maybe a second, or sorry, maybe 10 seconds or so. That could be the difference here between us getting an extra lap or not. But I think Denzel would like an extra lap for the time being. Adam, at this stage, probably want it to be shortened by a lap.
Yeah, I've done a few races against Adam. I had a cracking battle with Adam at Monza for the final round of the GT3s, and I felt it was great actually doing some kind of wheel-to-wheel battling with him. But seeing Adam here running currently in P11, I think he's definitely got his finger out in this McLaren. So yeah, I don't think I'll be doing much racing with him next season, that's for sure, if this is the pace that he's going to show. But yeah, he seems to have got the better of Denzel for the moment. Meanwhile, Martin Kenyon's dropped off the back of Tristan Engelstad, and it looks like Martin might have had an incident. He did, he went off track. So that's put Martin back into P5 and potentially just into the clutches of Bobby Moss with 4 minutes to go. So there's going to be, I think, Dara, did you say there's going to be 3 laps to go, or is it 2 laps to go?
I think there's going to be 3 more to go because, of course, Yannis Albert about to cross the line again. And when you're running at about 100 seconds a lap, he's going to cross the line with about, give or take, 230 to go. Actually, scrap that, 220. So we should get another 3 laps in for about 15 seconds or so. That is where we lie. But it means that, you know, the longer this runs, the more chances we have at moves further back. Justin Alof on the back of Niels Kula, mind you, is one to watch. In fact, that could be moves developing right now in the GT4 class, 14th and 15th. Kula inside line, Alof outside line. The South African breaks later. South African gets through and up into P14. Have to move right towards the end of the race. 2 drivers who I think would be disappointed to be finding themselves down here, to be honest.
Yeah, and I've got an awful feeling that Nils crossed the white line on that pit exit. So that could be a drive-through penalty. Don't quote me on it. But as we caught the pit exit for Nils,
Was it the pit exit though?
I'm sure it was the pit. I'm sure you've got to stay on the right-hand side of that white line. I might be wrong, of course. Quite often I am, as my wife tells me daily. So even on Father's Day, can you believe? But yeah, I don't know. It just looked like it came over a little bit early. But yeah, I think you'd be right that they're probably both disappointed being down there in P15, P16, which maybe means that they're not going to battle quite as hard as Martin Kenyon looks like he's managed to get back into the second gap. No DRS in this particular discipline. So the relevance of being under a second is not actually that significant. But yeah, it looks like he's bridged the gap. But I think if he's had an off track, which he did, we'll have just a quick look at that as we've got a minute to have a look. Let's have a look, see what happened with Martin as he brakes late. Oh, it just goes straight on there. I don't know whether maybe a bit of a distraction in the rig, missed his braking point. But yeah, that's cost Martin quite a bit of time there. So yeah, up to 7/10 for Martin. Meanwhile, Yannis Albert making his way through the traffic for what seems to become a formality, Dara. We've got Yannis Albert leading the way in GT3 and, surprise, surprise, Mr. William Humphrey leading the way in GT4.
Yeah, and that is completely fair to say. It's not something we've come to be surprised with, it's fair to say, at this stage of the season. These two have been so good now for quite some time. This is a very, very intense... it's been an intense season for both categories, but it's intense for Yannis and for William in terms of keeping up their own almost record at this stage. Winning so consistently, doing such an incredible job, as they do every single race. But Yannis Albert is going to have one more lap after this one to confirm himself in the lead of this race. It's not over just yet, however, it really has been another dominant display from him and from William Humphrey. And for Anton Kaler and for Thomas Noakes, again, it feels like they're just going to be best of the rest in this race.
Yeah, looking at Martin, he definitely has tried to recover that after that bit of an off track, right behind Nick Stubb. Now down to 3/10, and I think he does have the draft. So as they're going to be on their last lap now. So yeah, is Martin going to look to make a move? That's the closest battle that we've got running in both classes for the GT3s and the GT4s. Let's have a quick look where Yannis is. So Yannis is now coming through turn 3, is that? Turn 3 and turn 4. So yeah, if Yannis doesn't pass Martin and Nick Stubb, they'll get that extra lap, won't they?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So that's going to be something that they have to think of in the closing stages. Rumours said Linskas is coming to the pit lane. Oh no, has he underfueled the car? Oh, he's going to have to splash and dash.
Or is it a
he's not having a drive-through. Is it a drive? No, he looks like he's stopping in a box now, doesn't he? Yeah, he must be. So he's going to have to splash and dash in this race. Oh, that's gutting for him. And devastating, really, when you consider that it has been a race where you wouldn't necessarily expect there to be a need for splashing and dashing, but that's kind of what it's come to for a couple of drivers. Little mistakes creep in, and that is just how it goes sometimes. But on the final lap of the race, Yannis Albert, again, he won when he turned up for the first time this season in round 3. He won again in round 4. 5 and 6 were ticked off like it was nothing, and now, here at Barcelona, in round number 7, he's going to be 5 in a row. He's going to overtake the 650 as his final act in this race. He may even pick up one more GT4 around the final couple of corners, but it doesn't really matter. 11 seconds, give or take, is going to be the gap for him. And once again, it has been domination. It wasn't easy in the early stages. He pitted early, and it looked concerning for a while. But in the end, it's going to be Yannis Albert rounding the final corner to win yet again. This time at the circuit at Barcelona, Catalunya. And he will be victorious again. I think Ryan Stringer just about got lapped there over the line, so he'll finish in P8 as Anton Kaler comes across the line for P2 in that GT3 class. Gianni Terhar third, another good result for him, but maybe we could have looked for a little bit more tonight, but the consistency remains high. But we'll have to wait for William Humphrey to come through because he's halfway around the lap. But again, another incredible drive from him, and we've come to expect it, and we'd be surprised if he wasn't in this position, James.
Yeah, Martin got that extra lap, so Rob Mackay has just told us that Martin's pedals disconnected, which caused him to have the off-track, so he's managed to do really well when you consider someone's had pedals disconnected. He's got back on track, reconnected them, and he's still looking to finish a very healthy P5. Meanwhile, William Humphrey comes round the final few corners back where he belongs, or where he feels he belongs. Of course, the rest of the GT4 field don't feel like that. But yeah, as he comes through the final 2 corners, and that will be some good, solid points for Glass Tech Racing. Some much-needed points after the results at Le Mans Dara. So yeah, great performance from William.
And they'll come across the line and take that victory in the GT4 class for him and, of course, the Glass Tech team. Thomas Noakes will run across the line in just a second to pick up P2. Not far ahead of Tristan Engelstadt, who will finish in 3rd. He's being chased by Matthew Croft, the final GT3, to finish this race. Nick Stubber and Martin Kenyon 4th and 5th. As Kenyon, oh, hello. As his pedal disconnected again, he's gone straight off the road at the final corner and will re-emerge for P5. That's a bit of a scary moment, though.
Get the deck
at
chair
the
out,
end
Martin
of the
Kenyon.
race.
Get on the beach. There he is.
we are in Barcelona, so I guess we're near Barcelona, you know.
We are, mate. We are. Pedro Luis de Silva manages to take P6, so a good result for him. And is that Bobby Moss out of fuel?
He very well could be. He's trundling to the line. Doesn't really matter, though, does it? Because he's got no one behind him. Ryan Stringer just about crossed the line a lap before, and he has crawled to the line for P7. Not exactly what he would have wanted, but still good points for the Minecraft Racing team, which is, you know, all that can be said for them. And I say all that can be said, it's still good enough to probably get them or keep them well in contention for that Pro Teams Championship, with both drivers firmly in contention every single race in their own respective classes.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me how Yannis Albert will look to save money by not fueling Bobby's car up enough for him, but at least he still managed to get it over the line, Dara.
He did. And as I screenshot the race results, so I remember who to bring in for the interviews, because I never forget that, do I, James? We will run through the full race results, starting with the GT3s, of course. Yannis Albert, 5 wins in a row for him, and the German does it again. He beat Anton Kahlo to second place, I believe for the 3rd time now in that span of 5 races. Jenny Tehar finished in P3. Jaden Scotland led a run of British drivers ahead of Will Soper, whose consistency was repeated again today. He finished ahead of Robin Earl Brown. Ben Bennyworth, who finished 7th again, and Matt Hoyland, the DXT driver, who was 8th. Zelinchgas and Joshua Cohen rounded out the top 10, but of course, Cohen and Adam Baker had a fantastic race towards the end there, finishing in 10th and 11th. Denzel Clarkson in the end was a couple of seconds off the back of Adam Baker, but was just over a minute off the leading gap. And he said off the lead lap there. He was definitely on the lead lap. Matthew Crawford was also on the lead lap in P13, but sadly for Dean Shrewsbury, Andy Trell and Andrew Fellows, they were all a lap down. Dale Williams so far down, he won't be scoring any points. And then, of course, in the GT4 class, a couple more drivers graced our presence, but it was William Humphrey, yet again, who managed to beat everybody to the checkered flag. Thomas Noakes was P2 after using his good qualifying pace to good effect in the race. He finished ahead of Tristan Engelstadt, with Nick Stubber and Martin Kenyon not too far behind. I think Martin has found himself a nice sunbed, and he's already lounging, fighting off the Germans to get to that sunbed first. Pedro Luis da Silva and Bobby Moss 6th and 7th. Ryan Stringer was the first driver to have been lapped by the overall race leader, but he wasn't a full lap down to William Humphrey. Linus Bekovic and Stephen Donnelly 9th and 10th in the end. They'll pick up some decent points ahead of the Danish Marius Hibmer. Dan Cross, Chris Jennings and Justin Aloff. I think Justin Aloff particularly will be disappointed with P14 in the end. Niels Kuda definitely disappointed with P15. Callum Morrow, Rob Gregg, Pete Paiova and Simon Hunt were all a lap down. Ian Chambers was 2 lap down. And for Daniel Poole, he barely got going, 28 laps down, and will be the only driver, in fact, to score no points in tonight's race for the GT4 as well. That was quite an hour's worth of racing, James. I feel like it went through relatively well, and we've got some drivers wanting to talk to us, don't we?
It was. I think we've had a good night's racing. Again, I think it's I'm kind of learning as we go through with this, Dar. I know we're on round 7, so I should stop all the excuses, but it really, really is difficult to keep on track with all the action and all the overtakes that's going on. So yeah, absolutely. We thought it'd deliver some good racing, and I think the drivers will have really enjoyed this tonight. A lot of strategy involved. And some great results from some of them. So let me know who you want to bring in for the interviews, and I will do the cameras.
I think, looking at who we've got at the moment, that William Humphrey is going to be our man to kick us off. We've only got 3 in there, and William Humphrey, of course, race winner in the GT4s, and he will join us now. William, welcome in. Can you hear us, first of all?
Hello.
Hello. We're here again for a race win. I can't remember the last time that happened. This time, about 14 seconds. You know, it was tight in qualifying. You had to pull away a little bit at the start. Talk us through it. How difficult was that? How did you feel in the car? Where do you feel that like this leaves you into the final few rounds?
I made a mistake in qualifying, which on my final lap, just getting next, which wasn't great.
Dreadful.
And the Maccas were very, very fast around here, but it was just, I knew it was all just, if I could get a clean start, get past Thomas at the start, and then I could just go away and use the tyres that the Porsche seems to be pretty okay with.
And I mean, again, for the championship, of course, Joe not here in the GT3 class. Are you pleased to pick up maximum points on your side of the on the garage?
Yeah, very, very happy. And also for our sister team, Stubby getting P4 with a brilliant performance.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty good night for you, isn't it? James, again, William with pace that I think only we could dream of, really, isn't it?
Yeah, how the tides have turned, William, from last week. I mean, we didn't get to speak to you last week, but at Le Mans, not exactly going the way that you and Joe planned. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that now? Now we've caught you.
Well, I think it's a running joke now. My dad cancelled my internet just as I was racing in Le Mans. But nah, I don't know what happened, but game just crashed and was annoyed, but we come back stronger and we fight back. I knew I'd come back with a win, so here I am.
Do you like the track that we've been on tonight? Is that a track that you favour, or is it not one of your best?
Ooh, I like the historic layout just because it's a bit more flowing, but I prefer it in a higher downforce car just because of the amount of high speed or medium speed corners.
And what about next round? So we're at the 90-minute at Portimao. Is that a track that you look forward to?
Ooh. I think that'd be quite alright, to be honest. Got a great mix and it isn't too hard on the tyres compared to this race. I think that'd be quite good fun, actually.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us for interview. So you've had a few fans in the chat, and thank you to them for also joining us and contributing as well. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to on the broadcast before we let you go?
It's Father's Day, so I'll give a shout out to my dad, especially for not turning off the internet again. And yeah.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Well, enjoy the rest of the evening, and we'll probably see you in 2 weeks' time.
See you later. Thank you.
William Humphrey there, race winner again in the GT4s, and I think it's only right that we get the man who finished behind him into the booth for what should be the first time this season. It'll be Thomas Noakes, who finished in second place in that GT4 class, and Thomas joins us now. Welcome in, Thomas. First of all, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Well, congratulations on the podium. First of all, you showed some great pace in qualifying last week. Wasn't able to convert it into a podium at Le Mans, but here, really carrying the pace through. How pleased are you to get the podium?
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased. I don't normally run these longer races. Anton drafted me in when I think his teammate left, and happy to be P2, but disappointed with the size of the gap to P1, I guess.
Yeah, well, William Humphrey in Evolution Sim Racing has been a GT4 stalwart at the front of the field. He had something like 18 wins in a 24-round season. He is an absolute machine in these cars. So it's still best of the rest, I guess, is a slight positive to take. But again, looking forward, you kind of got a real sense of the competition. How do you feel like you can work your way through some of these cars in the last few rounds? Where are your expectations of yourself leading?
I think realistically P2, I think I can learn the rest of the season how to do these longer races, how to take the pit stops better. I think I lost 4 seconds in the pits, so fuel saving or something like that. But I'd be, I guess, happy with the podiums for the rest of the season would be the aim.
Yeah, it's not a bad aspiration to have. I mean, James, it's nice to have someone new on the podium as well, isn't it? And Thomas has been such a great addition to that MK Simsport team the last few races.
It is brilliant. Thank you for joining us, Thomas. Thank you very much for popping in and having a quick chat with us. Anton sort of drafted you in, I think, because Yella couldn't finish the season. So tell us, how was it joining an existing championship as a kind of, as a 5K iRating driver, kind of big expectations? How was it joining the series and the league and getting to grips with everything?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. Like, I don't tend to run more serious leagues like this. But so far it's been brilliant, really good fun, really high level of competition. And I'm learning that iRating doesn't mean so much in the leagues. I think Martin Kenyon was with me for quite a while and his iRating is 1.6K. So yeah, it's learning who is the fast guys and who's not, but all good fun.
Yeah, we're a serious league when it comes to competition, but we're certainly not serious in how we conduct it. So yeah, Martin's one of the known Smurfs within ESR. So there's a few, but yeah, I mean, your introduction certainly kind of opened a few eyes up for everybody, and also supporting Anton a little bit in that teams championship, because he went for quite a few rounds kind of running solo. So is that your kind of goal and ambition now, just to kind of support him in that teams championship as it leads up to the finish?
I think, yeah, see what we can do in the team championship. I think, like you say, he was pretty much picking up the points himself for the first half of the season. So we'll see what we can do.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And just before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd want to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
I guess it's Father's Day, so shout out to my dad. Yeah, hello.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Well, look, have a great evening, and hopefully we'll get to speak to you again in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Here's Thomas. Thomas notes there P2 for the MK Sim Sport team in the GT4 class, and his teammate in the GT3, Anton Kalo, was P2 down. We can drag him in just a second, and there he is. Anton joins us now. Anton, welcome in. Firstly, can you hear us?
I can.
Well, another good result for you, P2 again. Of course, slight disappointment or annoyance at the fact that the gap to Yanis is still there. But again, more points on the board, and if you can keep up these kind of results, you'll still be in great position for a championship win for the drivers. But talking about the teams, we've just had Thomas in for a chat. P2 for you, P2 for him. Fantastic news for MK.
Oh yeah, what can I say? MK Sim Sport, the bag fumbler specialists. Double pole to double P2. Both of us lost the win. Let's go.
Good points on the board, though. I mean, you've been in a really tight battle in the last few weeks now with the Minecraft Racing team, with of course Bobby Moss and Yanis Albert. So to get more points than them this week should be a really positive step. With the the form and pace of Thomas, how confident are you in trying to bring home that team's championship title?
I think now that we've got this race to kind of look at as a more realistic pace than maybe Le Mans, I'm very confident. I don't know what position we're realistically going to be able to scratch back, but I mean, maybe we'll get a decent one at the very least at the end of the season.
Yeah, but another good result for you, and definitely confidence to gain. James, I feel like we talk to Anton every week, and that just goes to show his consistency at this point of the season.
Yeah, good evening, Anton, and congratulations on that P2. Fantastic result. The unbeatable Yanis Albert again, just kind of getting things going just before the pit stops. But what I want to know, Anton, is what was it like in that first lap with this new tyre model? What can everybody expect, and how was it for you?
Really good, actually. I'm really enjoying the new tires. I've been driving with them a little bit the unofficial races this week, and then practicing for Barcelona. They really fit me. I'm excited to see where it goes in the future and how a lot of the guys that I've been racing against will adapt to the tires. Like I said, I feel really confident on them. I feel like it's so, like, I don't think I was pushing to my limit yet this race. I was driving consistently, but it's way more interesting now, I think, now that there's so much more evolution with the tires. So they don't start off super quick, and it takes a good 5 laps to get them going. So even qualifying, you're setting up your 4th lap more than pushing maybe on your first couple. So it's going to be very interesting. And also with these tires, I feel like, I mean, I don't know, I got pole here. I mean, Yanis, he messed up his first and final laps. So maybe there's something to that. But when we were both in open traffic, or like when we were both not in traffic, I was within a second of him, trailing him after his overtake for multiple laps, and I was only 10 seconds back because I was spun out by a GT4. So I'll have to watch the replay and see what that is, but I feel very confident about being able to actually maybe win some of the races that are remaining. And you know, the first maybe the counter-attack from my end has been maybe thrown with this race a little bit, and maybe Yanis knows this, because like for sure I did not lose 10 seconds on pace. I was very unlucky with the traffic, but then also if you get unlucky with every single GT4 traffic, maybe it's not the GT4. So I gotta learn how to utilize the traffic more, how to pass it more effectively. But I'm very, very happy with my like actual open track pace.
Well, that is really, really brilliant to hear. So thank you for sharing that insight with us. What just one last question before we finish. What you mentioned there in quali that you were kind of teeing it up for lap 4. Was that the actual optimum, or were they still warming up on lap 4? And did you feel that maybe you could have done with kind of 2 or 3 more?
Possibly. I mean, when I've done like longer practices with like full laps or like full tank, it's usually one of my last or like later laps that it ends up being the quickest, and I think that's probably tire wear related. I'm quite a passive driver, so I don't really push the tires that much. I mean, the fuel saving, tire saving, that's kind of my thing. So probably, I would say it's for me personally, but I for sure like you gotta adapt or get left behind, right? So you gotta figure out how to get those tires to their optimal in lap 4 for this, and then whatever the rules of whatever other races you're doing, if it's 2 laps like there is in iRacing officials, then bam.
Even less, yeah, even less.
Yeah, so it's I think also setup related. Maybe nobody has setups right for this because it's just the new tires. So I was on the fixed setup, so we'll see. Well, I'll have to see.
Of course, yeah. We never considered that. Of course, there's no setup shops available, and we run open setup. So yeah, tonight would have been 0 setups. Everybody just going blind. So yeah, we missed that. So thanks for reminding us. But yeah, brilliant. Thanks for joining us. And before we let you go, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, hey, seeing as it's Father's Day, happy Father's Day, Ben and Paul. Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for joining us, Anton. And certainly based on what you've just said to us about closing that gap to Yanis, we will look forward in anticipation to Portimao in 2 weeks' time. So best of luck, and we'll see you there.
Thank you. I'll try my best not to eat my words when I'm 2 seconds behind in qualifying or something, but thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks, Anton. Great to speak to him again after another great result for him. And the team, and looking at who we've got left, the name that comes out the next highest runner was Martin Kenyon, P5 for him today. So we're going to drag Martin Kenyon in for a chat, and Martin joins us now. Can you hear us first of all, Martin?
No.
Fantastic. So, P5 for you today, a decent result, all things considered. Sticking very close as well to the back of Nick Stubber. Talk us through the visits to the beach, though. Were you looking for a bit of a holiday getaway mid-race?
My throttle pedal decided to get stuck at 3/4 throttle. So, and then I was like I had to mash the brake in to try and slow it down. Reach behind the PC to unplug the USB and then plug it back in quickly.
It's always a tactic you never want to have to use, isn't it? But you dealt with it relatively well, apart from that final corner, of course, where you took another visit to the beach. But we've all been there. We have all been there. Still, though, P5, very good result for you. Yes, it could have been a little bit more as well. Where do you think the positives lie in that performance? Where do you see yourself going in the final few weeks of the championship?
I'm not sure because I will be missing a round. Hopefully I've got a sub lined up. I just need to wait for them to confirm that they're able to do it for me. But there's a clash between the EGTC and the Porsche Cup. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think we've got a strong lead in the Teams Championship, so we should be okay for that.
Yeah, it's looking good for you in that regard, so definitely want to keep an eye on towards the end of the year. And James, if I could go to the gravel twice, I wouldn't mind finishing P5.
Yeah, fantastic result, Martin. We've caught you quite a bit tonight. It's I think you were having a really, really, really strong performance. What an absolute shame that was. We couldn't quite work it out when we went back on the replay, but I mean, to get it unplugged and replugged, you did awesome. And you only lost, I think, was it 1 position to Nick?
Yeah, 1 position. I think I lost about 9 seconds. I was right behind Tristan Engelstead. And when I looked at the relative to see where he was like 9 or 10 seconds further up the road.
Yeah, well, awesome recovery, mate. Absolutely awesome recovery. And in 2 weeks' time, we're at Portimao. Is that the round that you're missing, or is it the following one at Spa?
I think it's Spa I'm missing.
Yeah, I think it is Spa.
I'll be there at Portimao.
And what about the Portimao track? Because I've seen you race there before.
I enjoy the track. I've not driven it in GT4 though, so. We'll see what happens,
you're on the promo video in your Lamborghini. Have you noticed?
Very nice. I've not noticed, no.
Wait till you see it, mate. You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. But yeah, awesome result, and congrats. And that looks like, I mean, no Joe Sparrow tonight because Rob Mackay told us that he fell to sleep after watching the Le Mans 24. So it looks like you and Matt will have pulled out a great lead now in that Teams Championship. So. One hand on that trophy. You need to go and get yourself one hand on another trophy in the Danny Lee Porsche Cup, I think.
Absolutely. I'm currently sat third in that, and that's why I can't miss that race.
Brilliant, mate. Well, look, before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just my dad, because it's Father's Day, and everyone else's dads. My teammate Matt. I don't think he was best pleased with the new tyre model in the Corvette, but he's done well to get a top 10 result. I think he got, what, P8?
I think he was about P8, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Thank you
Martin.
guys as well.
Well, thank you for joining us. I know that we grabbed you when you weren't ready last time, but thank you for joining us tonight. You were ready. So we will probably look forward to seeing you in another couple of weeks.
All right, thank you.
Cheers, Martin.
Cheers.
Martin Kenyon there, P5 in the end. In class, it was a decent day for him. Not a million miles away was Ryan Stringer, P8 for him. And he's going to join us as well in the booth. He's the penultimate guy we're going to drag in. And he joins us now. Ryan, can you hear us, first of all?
Yeah, I can.
How was that race for you then? Just about finishing behind the overall race leader. P8, are you looking at the positive side of it or the negative?
Negative. Massively.
Talk us through what went wrong. What went wrong then?
I prioritised going out yesterday, so I didn't get much practice. And then I done 14 laps before the race, private practice. So I didn't have much practice. The early stop worked out for me and Tristan quite well, but I didn't got held up, so I lost a good chunk of time, and then had a few little ding dongs with the GT3s, trying to just shove it down the inside every corner.
But again, still points on the board. Where do you feel like this leaves you going into Portimao in a couple of weeks' time?
I've finished the race ahead of two people that are ahead of me in the championship, so I can look at the positive on that side. The people that I really wanted to try and beat today were just in front of me, and I feel bad for Martin with his pedals disconnection, but it was a hard race, but we're going into Portimao, hopefully with a bit more practice, I should do all right, hopefully.
To have those expectations, right? For a couple of weeks' time. James, we can't keep everybody happy for every single race. There's always going to be those who are feeling a little bit like there's more to find. But if you're finishing P and there's more to find, then there's definitely hope, isn't there?
There is, yeah, and it sounds like you're quite confident about Portimao, Ryan. What's the kind of target position to finish, just so I know where to put my money on Paddy Power before 2 weeks' time?
I haven't actually got Portimao, but so I'm going into it blind with no practice of having to get the track this week. But I'm hoping for a similar result with the longer race. Obviously, the Zandvoort race, I had a drive through, and I would have been net P5 if I didn't get that. I had a P2 last round. So I'm hoping for at least the top 5. Obviously, it's all down to just the practice and hopefully get higher up in the team's championship, because that's what I'm aiming for at the moment now.
Well, brilliant, mate. Well, let's hope we'll keep everything crossed for you in 2 weeks. I might put £5 on each way between 4th and 5th. So if that comes in, then we'll definitely share a beer, mate. But in the meantime, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to on the stream before we let you go?
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to the missus, who's for some reason wanting to support me every race, as much as I'm a pain to her, but she's a big support, and the boys over in Quad Dash that have helped get me a bit faster and a bit more competitive with the GT4, because I actually hate this car. And just the affiliate sponsoring of Britzy.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Ryan, and hopefully you'll have a little bit better run out in a couple of weeks' time at Portimao, and maybe we'll speak to you after that one.
Hopefully.
Okay, mate. Have a nice evening.
You too.
There was Ryan Springer. Thanks, Ryan, for joining us as always. P8 for him tonight. Final man we'll drag into the interview booth is Mr. Andy Chell. Oh, sorry, Andy, I've dragged you in mid-sentence there. Definitely means you can hear us.
Oh, yeah.
We can get that one out of the way. Talk us through that race for you. P15, a couple of ups and downs, of course, points on the board for the Quatermass Racing outfit. Yeah, where are the positives in that? How do you feel after 60 minutes of Barcelona?
Oh, I am sweating. I won't lie, Dara. I am sweating.
I am too, to be fair.
I had a technical issue until the pit stop. My traction control kept turning itself off, which was fun. Especially when it's mid-corner and then the car goes, "Oh, we want to go this way now." So yeah, I realised as we started the race what it was doing. I thought it was me just not turning the tyres on in quali. I know this sounds like the perfect racing driver's excuse. I know it does, but so when I came into the pits, I had to do a full resync and reset of the steering wheel, which I'm not gonna lie, when your pit stops about 30-40 seconds, that's a rush. But yeah, overall the teams, because there's two teams of us running, have done really well. Ben's had a really good 7th place, I think. Yeah, 7th place. Obviously Ian and Sai are doing quite well for themselves in the GT4s. They're bringing it home. They're getting points, and that's, at the end of the day, points means prizes. So yeah, good that we've got points. Struggle with the traction control, but overall, yeah, not a bad night really, to be fair.
Yeah, clearly good positives to take from it, and James, again, goes back to the point we're making about the teams really being a big factor, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we've got an apology to make to Andy, really, because on one side we've got the team name right tonight, all night, but then on the other side, unfortunately, one of the downsides of going out towards the end of quali, Andy, is that we get
you watched it all, didn't you?
We did. We not well.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, not only did we watch it all, but then I did actually have a little bit of a chuckle to myself. So unfortunately, I have to apologise for that. You can probably hear it on stream, but yeah, I was just saying that I could feel that Andy was being really gentle with the car, and literally as I said it, you spun out. So. Yeah. Commentator's curse, mate. So I'm really, really sorry about that. But
don't worry, mate,
on a more positive note, what about next in 2 weeks' time at Portimao? What do you think of that track, and what you what you're aiming for?
I absolutely love that track. It's always been a fun track for me. Like I said last time at Le Mans, I do tend to favour higher speed tracks. How the new tyre model is going to work with it, I'm not too sure. We've got a lot of testing to run through. Obviously, we've been doing a lot of testing with the GT3 series starting soon, so we're going to have a lot of seat time in the cars. But yeah, it's always been a track I go well at. It's a track that my more aggressive driving style comes out because I'm more comfortable. And I feel like I can put the car in places where people don't necessarily expect me to re-attack them. So yeah, I'm hoping for a good little run. I mean, I've got a lot of highly skilled and highly rated drivers ahead of me. So I'll be honest, being one of the lower rated guys coming in P15, P14s, it's a win for me. Because like I say, there's the guys ahead of us are vastly, I don't want to say more talented, but have got a lot more skill with the cars. In maybe that's more seat time for them or whatever. But yeah, so for me, realistically, I'd say I'd like to aim for 14th. I don't want to say 13th because that always feels like bad luck, but you never know, it might be good luck. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm coming home and I can bring points in for the team, then that's all that matters. So. And having fun, let's be fair. But yeah, at the moment, points are meaning prizes for us. So if we can get the team back into the top 10, then me and Si will be happy bunnies. And that's the aim, really.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, we'll keep everything crossed for you. Before we let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to on the stream?
Yeah, obviously to the Quakemas team and all the other 3 drivers. Well done, guys, as always. I'll give a shout out to the wife, because if I don't and she listens or she hears it back and hears my interview back when I'm watching it back, she'll probably give me a thump. And then obviously with it being Father's Day today in the UK, to my dad. I don't know if he'll be watching along or not. He sometimes does. But yeah, and to you guys as well, thank you very much for putting it on. We really do appreciate it.
No problem at all, mate. Good list of shout outs there. Can echo that sentiment. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll get to speak to you again. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening.
And you, mate, thank you very much.
Cheers, Andy.
Cheers, Andy. Andy Trell there, the final driver. I nearly dragged myself out there. To have an interview, and that's where we can wrap up the booth tonight. James, it's been a great race, isn't it?
Very, 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 very enjoyable evening, Dara. Yeah, certainly feeling a little bit better than 2 weeks ago has helped keep on top of things as the racing goes. But yeah, good night's racing, and I'm sure there'll be quite a few things for the drivers to unpick when they look back through their replay files. So we best wrap up, but before we do, we just want to cover a little bit of news that some of you may be aware of within ESR, and for those that aren't. So on yesterday, on the 14th of June, we did release information for our new replacement series that will kind of supersede, if you like, the European GT Championship, and that will be the Americas GT Challenge. So this will be GTE multiclass and GT3, so that will consist of 2 drivers, so the same kind of format as the European GT Championship, but rather than GT3 and GT4, it will be GTE and GT3. So we got a lot of feedback from members saying that they wanted to see some GT3s. So we opened sign-ups yesterday, and that is going really, really well so far. I think more than half of the grid and the spaces have been taken available. So we've got 5 GTE cars to choose from. We've got the Ford GTE, the Ferrari, the Porsche, the BMW and the Corvette, and then the usual choice of the GT3 cars. So there'll be 2 championships, the same kind of format, the Pro teams and the Pro-Am teams. And we are very, very fortunate to have Dara back in the comms booth, but Dara is going to be teamed up with probably the GOAT, I would call him, TX141, Paul Walsh. So Paul has a massive passion for the GTE cars, absolutely loves them to bits. And when I had the conversation with Paul about did he want to cover the series, he said yes, he would absolutely love to, and could he have Dara on co-coms with him as well. So we've gone all in. We have Paul TX141 Walsh and Dara Thacker that is going to be bringing us that series. So I'm super, super excited about that. Not only for the fact that I'm going to get a chance to race every other Sunday, apart from the ones I'm going to cover when Paul's doing some real life work. And then we've got the calendar. So with it being an America's GT challenge, so that's US, Brazil and Canada. So we've got the pre-season round at Laguna Seca on the 3rd of August. Round 1 is at Daytona for a 90-minute race on the road course. We've then got Mosport Park for the 60-minute race. We've got VIR, and we are doing the Grand course. I've been asked a couple of times, did I really mean the Grand course? And yes, we did. So that's going to be an amazing 60-minute race. We've then got another 90 minutes at Interlagos, followed by a 60-minute at Kota, 90-minute at Sebring, which is going to be a sunset race, 60-minute at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve at Montreal, followed by Long Beach, the street circuit, which is just going to be insane with GTEs and GT3s, penultimate round at Road America, and then the final round at Watkins Glen. So absolutely going to be an amazing, amazing season, Dara, and yeah, one that we can really get our teeth into.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really exciting series, and of course, to trip our way around North America as well, to some fantastic circuits as well. It's going to be an absolutely great series, and take us all the way perfectly to Christmas. It's planned out beautifully, James.
It will be, and I think one of the biggest things that we're going to see, which is it's probably not going to be particularly great for me, but it's going to be great for a lot of people, is that the fastest GT3 drivers are probably going to be as quick, maybe quicker than some of the slower, like me, GTE drivers. So, you know, the likes of Yannis Albert that signed up in the GT3s, they're going to be right up there with probably the back, I don't know, the back 10 of the GTEs, and circuit dependent. You know, that's going to make for some really, really interesting and close multi-class racing. So yeah, we're super looking forward to that. We've got, I think, about 12 team places available. So if you are interested in that, then get yourself to the sign-up details and the info channel in the Discord and see what it's all about. And if you're interested in that every other Sunday evening, then jump on board and come and get on the grid with us. The broadcasting will be absolutely second to none. So I'm don't know whether I'm more excited about hearing you and Paul team up together or actually getting in a GTE car, but we will see. We will see. So with that, we're just going to wrap up. So yeah, we've got Thursday evenings. GT3 Season 9 is ready to kick off this Thursday. So we've got Paul Walsh doing the B split, and we've got Joe Glass and Chaz Draycott doing the A split on Thursday. That's a pre-season round, so it'll just be a bit of kind of finding our feet and some of the newer members getting to grips with each other. We've got the remaining European GT Championship rounds that we've spoke about earlier, plus we've got, starting on the 3rd of August, the America's GT Challenge. We're coming into the final stage now of the Danny Lee Porsche Cup by GT Omega. That's broadcast over on Apex Racing TV. That's really been a fantastic one to watch, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that one plays out towards the end of the season. And if you would like to just get on track for a weekly race with no kind of stress, no entry fees, bit of social racing, and learn to pick up some tips and kind of setups and stuff off any of the guys that race in ESR, we do have a practice league that runs every Tuesday evening and Saturday afternoon. So I think that's almost everything from me, Dara. We've got round 8 Portimao to look forward to in 2 weeks' time, the last of the 90-minute rounds, and one that certainly, from what Anton Kalo said, looks like isn't a foregone conclusion that Yannis Albert is going to take that win.
Well, exactly. It's going to be a really exciting race. 90 minutes again as well means that it's just going to be that little bit more difficult, I think, to really work out. But it's a circuit that is such a roller coaster ride. It really does work with the undulations of the surrounding areas, and I'm looking forward to it. Last 90-minute race of the season, of course.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Well, look, that's all from us. So thank you to everybody that's watched the stream. Thank you for the likes and the subscribes. And we will be back in 2 weeks' time at Portimao. But enjoy the rest of your evening. Happy Father's Day to everybody that's watching. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
For the upcoming right-hander, brake 30 meters later and ease off the pressure.
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Alla, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.